We are officially live streaming.
So we are officially calling to order the year-round out-of-school time RFP evaluation team. This is Thursday, February 19th at 10 a.m. and we are at the CSC Leon office. With that, I'm going to ask our procurement manager, Holly McPhail, to call the roll.
Welcome, everyone. Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Edelman.
Here.
Ms. Johnson. Here. Ms. Jones. Here. Ms. Jordan. Here. Ms. McIntyre-Waney. Here. So we have everyone present and accounted for.
Thank you. So now
I have a motion that we approve the agenda.
awesome.
Sick.
It's been moved and properly seconded. If there is no consternation, we'll approve it by consent. Awesome. Approved. Now we have the opportunity for any general public comment. Ms. McPhail, is there any general public comment?
There is no public comment.
Awesome. So the record will show we have no general public comment. And at this time, I will turn it over to Ms. McPhail to do the review of the RFP process and take us through the rest of the agenda until we get to number 9, team member comments.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for agreeing to serve in the capacity as an evaluation member. You will recall, and for the members of the public, we did publish an RFP for youth development and out of school time for back in October of 2025. Thank you, everyone. And then we closed, we hosted a series of informational sessions and trainings and open office hours for technical assistance. And we closed those applications or the request for proposal on January 9th. We did an internal review and offered the 18 responses an opportunity to cure for anything that they might have missed. That did yield one unresponsive vendor. The remaining 17 moved forward. At that time, we invited all 17 of those vendors to come in and do a presentation to which all of you were present and accounted for. We made recordings of all of those interviews, and those are available at the conclusion of this procurement process should anyone want to see any of those presentations, as well as all of the materials. At that time, you all made a request for additional information from every single vendor, in which case they had a few days to turn that around. That was provided to you. So their original proposal, their presentation, and that supplemental information was provided to all of the evaluators, to which you had the opportunity to review and issue initial scores. The paper in front of you has the results of those initial scores, and it says draft because this is the part in the process where we're going to talk through any of the scores that have been made that might have what we would say kind of low consensus. Those that are high consensus, and I'll talk through that process as we go through the scores. Those that have high consensus usually mean that on average, given the criteria that each of you were provided, generally scored roughly the same. Those that have moderate to low consensus are currently highlighted in yellow, and those are really the ones that we want to spend some time this morning talking about. But it doesn't have to be exclusive to those programs or those domains that are highlighted in yellow. If you see something that you'd like to ask more questions about, feel free to do so. The purpose of this morning is to first finalize scores. So all you see in front of you is just the score sheet. You do not see the fun second part of our agenda, which is kind of determining, once we have some final scores, what type of recommendation you would like to make to the council. When we get to that, I'll show on the screen a greater kind of an expanded view, if you will, and we have some tools available to us, including a map and some other things for us to make some decisions, for you really to make some decisions on how you want to formulate your recommendation. And with that, are there any questions about the process of scoring or any questions about this first phase that you want to ask before we dive in? Seeing none, I do want to just kind of go on page 1. You'll have the organizational profile, was eligible up to 20 points, program design up to 35. Page 2 is the staffing plan up to 25 points, quality assurance up to 15 points, and these are the paraphrased headers for your scoring rubric that you had. And then on the last page, you'll see the scores for the budget for the purposes of the recording and members of the public who may be viewing this. In accordance with the RFP, the budget review and scoring rubric was completed by an internal team consistent with the CSC Neon fiscal guidelines, and detailed feedback provided to all vendors during that request for supplemental information. And so those scores are wholly represented of that internal. And so for the members of the public, so that they understand that section 5, the budget, was not something that was reviewed by the evaluation panel, but that score issued by the internal team, again, in accordance with the published RFP from last fall. You'll see a subtotal there, and then a column that says BP. That is not blood pressure or a gas station, that is bonus points. The bonus points were eligible up to 7 points. They were clearly identified in the RFP as well as the scoring rubric, and those were issued on a variety of things. I did not list all 7 columns out. Should you have a question of what those were, feel free to ask and I can expand it and share it on the screen. But we went through things like attending our informational session in person, attending any of our opportunities for training on program design or budget, including certified teachers in their staffing plans specifically, including a video testimonial from a service recipient, and the selection of specific criteria for the enrichment component and the addition of a strategic plan or a logic model. Those were the 7 bonus points that were eligible. And then you would see at the end the total. Total points possible, there was a RFP, it said 127, but it was really out of 120. You could earn those 7 bonus points had there been a perfect score plus the 7 bonus points. They could have earned 127 points, but the percentages are based on the threshold of the 5 categories of 120 points. So that's what the percentages are in the final column. These are draft and they're not published anywhere except in paper form right now, because what we'll do today is finalize the scores, and any edits that are made, you'll actually change it on your piece of paper. And I have backups here that if you're using yours to write notes that you want to keep for yourself, but any changes that you make, you'll physically score them and sign before you leave so that we can make the score sheet final. Okay. Yeah, that's a great point. In accordance with our open meetings and government in the sunshine, notes to yourself are notes to yourself. Notes that you might show. So Miss Jones, just because you're sitting right across from me, if you're like, oh, Miss Johnson, and you write her a little note, by you sharing it with the person next to you, it becomes a public record. It doesn't mean you have to have your testing centers up, but if you intentionally are sharing something or asking a question, just know that we would ask that any of those notes you leave behind so that that can be made part of the record. It's a great point. Thanks.
Question. So you said this we have to turn in?
I have, if you want to take notes as we go, feel free to. I have backups.
Okay.
So that if you want to turn, if you do make some edits to your scores, I have backups that will score here and get you to sign. So feel free to use the piece of paper in front of you to take as many notes as you want.
Thank you. But if on your notes, you happen to share it. So you have your notes, share it with your neighbor, then your notes now become public and we'll ask you to read them.
It's intentional sharing.
Intentional sharing, yeah, it's not a.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, with that, we're gonna dive in. We're gonna start with talking about organizational profiles. So this was up to 20 points. We looked at this if there was a variation of greater than 5 points between the lowest and the highest, we highlighted it in yellow. So you'll see here under this section that there are 4 that did have a greater spread. Some of it just by a little, some of it by more than a little. So the first one is Brownsville Seeds of Literacy. And so what we'll do is we'll kind of take those up and I'll ask anyone who has a low score versus a high score to maybe share why. And in this case, with the first example, Brownsville, we have 2 low scores of 12 and 2 high scores of 20, an 8-point difference. It's a pretty high variation for this segment. Would anybody care to speak to why they gave a low score versus a high score? So our low scores, we have Mr. Edelman and Miss Johnson. Our higher scores, Miss Jordan and Miss McIntyre-Waney. Sure.
I can speak to my higher score. Looking just at the provider profile, I felt very confident in Brownsville's ability to translate their written mission into tangible and measurable community impact based on previous financial records, previous reports they've shared, or just like the history they have in the community. It seems that the program appears fiscally sound and able to deliver high quality programming throughout the entire year.
Thank you for sharing.
The one thing I would add is that I also was looking at the overlap with CSC's mission and Brownsville in that capacity felt like it met the.
I based my score off of the written review and then the in-person presentation. My score was lower because I didn't see how they translated their mission to tangible community impacts. They didn't really provide any examples in their presentation or when we were doing our in-person presentations. I think that's probably it for them. I'm sorry. And also their grant management. So it seems like this has been like their primary grant funded project. So that weighed into me giving a lower score as well.
Do you want to share anything? No?
You
You would agree?
Yeah.
So based on hearing that kind of different perspective, does anybody want to have further discussion or feel compelled to lower or raise or change their score based on this discussion? Or ask each other questions, because this is the time where you're allowed to talk to each other and say like, hey, did you see this? Or I missed that, or we can have that open conversation. I know during the interviews, I was like, don't talk to each other. Now is the time that we can talk, and absolutely.
I believe they have a very strong literacy program, and that is so important today. And I know that was one thing that making sure children can read and making sure they can interact together. And so that's why my score is like in the middle. The score is in the middle. So I thought the literacy program was very, very strong.
I would agree with that as well. And I guess I based a lot of mine on, well, like obviously their application, but their presentation, I think they really showcased their, I guess you could say, legacy in the community, or just like the years of like support they've garnered, the years of like impact they've created. I think they did a really great job of storytelling with that. They've had other grants from the CSC before. They've been funded 3 other times by the CSC. So I feel confident in their ability to work within CSC's guidelines, which I think is what's very important. Obviously, the CSC is funding them. And then I don't know, I think their transportation might have been lacking a little bit, but based on what the lady was saying, it was like they've kind of done enough like research in the community to see like where that greater need is. And so they're catering the services towards where the greater need is and then kind of trickling down from there.
So I will say the transportation is exclusive to program design, so we can chat about that more there. Mr. Adelman?
I think one of the concerns for me was when it comes to my confidence that they can deliver on their mission and how it aligns with the mission of CSC was that was the late fee. It's like $10 for the first minute and $1 for each additional minute. And then it ends at 4. So when we think about like the goal of trying to provide a safe space for people to go so that their parents can work, if they're not able to afford care, I think it really limits who might be able to go because a lot of people, especially in low income jobs, don't have as much flexibility over the times they can get. And so like being punished in this way, I just don't think I wasn't a fan of it, and I didn't see many of the other programs doing that. They were kind of giving a little more leeway. So I thought that was like a negative thing in terms of their ability to fulfill the general mission.
So thanks for sharing that. I will say that the late fees piece might be feeding into your design score as well. So keep that transportation and late fees into the design score. Going back to organizational profile, any things else that you might want
Also,
to add?
right into my score, I think were their fiscal controls. Now, I will be fair, this was one of the first ones that I did, so I might have been a little bit more stringent in comparison, so I'm not opposed to raising it like a point or two. But I think that was one of my issues that I had when I was reviewing.
Okay.
Was fiscal control.
Is that something you would like to do? You're currently at a 12. Would you like to make an edit?
Sure, I can go up to 13.
Okay.
I argue their fiscal controls they have a pretty detailed plan laid out. It seems to follow a pretty straightforward hierarchy. There's no,
I'll go to 14.
Okay. That's totally
there's
fine.
like no one person just looking at one thing, like everyone's looking at everything. It's like,
Can I ask other people?
Yes.
Mr. Davis, curious about your score.
So I'm gonna go back to where I started on all this is about the confidence, right? So I can dig into all my details as to why I scored that way, but given just for this section, the profile part, my number one challenge was the delineation between Brownsville prep and seeds. Right? That threw me off. And they did not articulate it well, just for that section. There are other things that I have, but for this profile section, that was one. And I'm sitting here saying, all right, 13 versus 15.
Yeah.
That's all right. Could I change it? Yes, but I don't want to do that right now. I'll wait till I talk through the rest of them. But comparatively speaking, where I rank them, that's about where they fit, right? For the gap. But the one thing that jumped out at me was where does Brownsville prep start?
yeah,
And where does seeds start? Now that was my big challenge.
yeah, I can understand
I
that.
did not get into the information on
Should I
that
check
at
on
all.
my figure?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna keep my score.
You're gonna stay at the 12? Okay.
That's what I wanted to hear from them at the beginning of this,
Mhm.
for that first section, which is like, and I didn't get that. I wanted to read and see where it was, and I didn't see it. And that's gonna bleed over into some of these other things as well.
Sure.
Yes, I can see that. It seems like the whole arching was Brownsville prep. And they're trying to figure out how they can do something different in the summer,
Yes.
but it was still Brownsville prep.
Part of that is that we made the requirement that you have to be a 501c3, but we permitted that any 501c3 that has a fiscal sponsor, that fiscal sponsor could be a larger organization to provide the required financial backing.
Okay.
Should they default on the grant, or, I mean, I say default on the grant, but it's almost like a
Should there
loan.
be any issues?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Financial.
So
That's why.
it is permitted that they have a fiscal sponsor And to Mr. Davis's point, the relationship between the fiscal sponsor and the program provider, was that clearly articulated? And do you have confidence in that oversight?
That's it, but you can sort of say it.
And then I just want to add for me, processing orientation. Once we're done, if I go back and say, hey, I do want to change these, I don't have to do it right now. I can do it whenever I want to, right?
And once we finish with this agenda item and then we get to the recommendation of award, we're gonna stop. There will be a point that I say, nope, you can't, right? But we can talk about all the ones that are in yellow and others, and then you can come back. Yes,
Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
I'm open to lowering my score a little bit for the reasons that Mr. Edelman said, with like I guess that gets in the program design.
Well, I don't know, because I think that does, for me at least, impact my confidence in their ability to deliver on the goals that I have, or that, not that I have, that the CSC has.
If they were a brand new program, I would agree. But it's not a brand new program or brand new partner. They've established themselves both at CSC and within Tallahassee. So that's where I have some discrepancy with what you're saying. But I understand what you're saying with what's the difference between like Seeds and Brownsville Prep. It's kind of like a foundation running within like a bigger private entity. Yes, I was also confused about that as well, where the separation, like where the line is. And for that reason, I'm willing to take my score down, but I'm not willing to drop it to a 12.
Okay, what would you like me to document now? And you can, and when we come to finalize, we can, if you want to change it again, you'll be able to, but what should I put now?
What do you think? Since I feel like we scored very similarly throughout.
Yes, and so now what I'm thinking of is like I wouldn't be willing to lower my score unless I feel like there is a concern with how the vision and mission translate into community impact.
Yeah.
Because like I can understand, and I see the, where the Brownsville starts and where the Seeds of Literacy starts and like what that overlap could look like, concerning the profile specifically. So maybe I would drop at 1 point, but if someone really was like, no, there was no description of the tangible community impact, then I think I would really take a consideration for like meeting everyone where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they've delivered on their community impact. If literacy is their big focus, then they're definitely hitting that.
May I ask how we know that? Because they never told us. They never presented it and they never wrote it. So are we going off of reputation? Are we going off of what we saw?
You get to use everything that you have available at your fingertips, including your individual perspectives that you bring. There is no way possible for our evaluation panel to be myopic in its view, and that is the beauty of using a community evaluation panel. You each have experiences here in the community, and you are allowed to use all of that information to impact how you score. Our request, as we discussed in the training, is that you deploy that discernment judiciously.
Well, in the.
And as a note, if we spend this much time talking about every single one of them, we're never gonna get through it. So I want you, if you listen to your gut, right? Right? If you have a feeling like you score away, if you've heard something, you're like, I'm willing to consider it, then listen to it, make an adjustment. If you're not, move on, and that's okay. I want to.
Which is what I was going to say. Don't feel pressured
No.
one way or the other.
Okay.
The discussion is so that we have that inter-rater reliability, and this is now your opportunity to have it. But at the end of the day, if your gut says, this is the score I want, please don't feel like you have to change it just because.
And I just want to leave with this. I'm more of a community person. I see things, I hear things. And as I hear the children presenting at different functions, I see a level of literacy development that I do not see in many of the other groups of children who are presenting. So that's where I'm coming from also regarding my literacy in the community and observing what I see.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Jones. So I heard a willingness to an interest in shifting. Can you declare what you'd like to shift to, please, Ms. Jordan?
I will drop to an 18.
Okay.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay. Perfect. I'm going to hold and circle back with you, Ms. Jones, just in case, sorry, Ms. Johnson, just in case you change your mind. All right, moving on to Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce. This is another example of a fiscal agent, a fiscal sponsor with a community provider. In this case, the lowest score was a 13 and the highest score was a 19. That 6-point spread is what landed them on the list. In our lower scores, we see Ms. Johnson and Ms. McIntyre-Waney. And then our highest score is Mr. Edelman. If we could chat about why you did high and low, and then
I'm willing to move on this one. I've like through reading in the presentation, I felt confident, but I would love to hear what you guys didn't feel so that I can potentially adjust.
Particularly, I can share why I was one of the lowest scores. Again, when looking at the profile based off of what they shared and what was in the application, I think, you know, I'm of course weighing them both, but specifically the application, I would expect that the profile leans more into why you're applying for something that is youth focused. And so I did not see that overlap. I haven't pulled up mine, so I might have another comment, but it felt like they were one of the lowest aligned in that section in terms of profile.
I can understand that as the minority commerce as a whole, but I think the inclusion of CMS is meant to fill in that gap, from what I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm not understanding.
Yeah,
Let me pull up mine.
I scored the way I scored because they are in partnership with the Creative Mind Services is the nonprofit. So sorry, Solutions. Thank you. Creative Mind Solutions is the nonprofit. In this case, they could have gone either way and had Creative Mind be the entity that submitted, and then Big Bend Minority Chamber. But what they proposed was an actual partnership. I didn't see less of the fiscal. I would like to see more of the, I don't know if this was required, but just more talking about that secondary partner. And also it didn't really speak to me of how their overall mission aligns with CSC priorities. And so I thought they could have probably done a better job of just including that in that presentation.
Are we talking about the Big Bend Minority Chamber's mission?
Yes, because that's what they included in the
Right, so
application.
from my understanding is I just viewed it as like they, for whatever fiscal or partnership reason, are doing this, but really it's the Creative Mind Solutions who's, running the campaign, pursuing the grant, just with the association of them for what it looks like. I don't see that as anything like detrimental. I just see it as like, if the Big Bend wasn't there, would your confidence be higher?
Oh, the thing about the associate, it wasn't, no issue with the Big Bend. I just wanted to hear more about the partner that would actually be a little bit more hands-on and how the program that they propose
Oh, you
ties in.
the contracted partner?
Yeah,
like
you
youth center.
The youth center part of it, yeah.
But it does talk, the application does focus a lot on the Chamber of Commerce. And even though they are obviously a strong, they're like the key partner here. This is meant to be like the OST application, so I agree, it would have been nice to see more about like the actual partner that's doing the youth service.
Yeah,
So I can understand that.
Yeah, the overall profile wasn't, I mean, it's good, I rated good, because they met, the requirements, it's just, it wasn't, but I think they're fiscally stable, I think they could execute that project.
Can I ask you why they partnered with Big Bend? Why they weren't able to apply for themselves?
we can't answer why, and that was a question that they could have presented there. And what we can say is that the applicant has to be a 501c3 that has a certain fiscal accountability in terms of their budget. And if they didn't have that, yet they wanted to, in essence, ask for more, it had to have a fiscal sponsor. That was how the RFP was presented. So that could have played into it, but that question of how they presented it, ultimately the applicant was Big Bend Minority Chamber. and presenting as a subcontractor with Creative Mind.
I just wanted to say that the Camp Treppy does a great job of doing the technical education. And I was just concerned how they were gonna move that down to the K2. But I think that goes into the next.
It does, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but they do a great job, and I believe that's the program, the Creative Minds, that does the Camp Treppy.
It seems like Creative Mind is the one doing the actual like youth service.
Okay, well, okay. So that's the workforce and, they're over the workforce and technical education piece.
Camp Treppy.
Camp Treppy.
And again, that would be more related to program design in terms of the service delivery. And so under organizational profile, the question that you guys had on the scoring rubric as it relates to that is the questions of how well does the vendor's mission, so that's victim minority chamber, align with the goals and priorities? Do they provide specific examples of or evidence of how it translates into tangible community impact? Are there any gaps or inconsistencies with their stated mission in the proposed program? Then, of course, the questions relate to grant management, their annual operating budget, and ultimately your confidence in their financial controls to deliver and manage the grants. Does anybody feel compelled to consider a step based on this discussion? It's fine.
They're like, the Big Bend Minority Chamber does not have extensive like large scale youth impact experience, but CMS does fill that gap. And I think, although we're not there, I think they really do a good job of fleshing that out in the next section.
So I don't hear anyone wanting to shift from their scores for this one, is that correct? Okay, we're gonna move on to FSU CARE, FSU Center for Academic Retention and Enhancement. There's Fred, this is probably the most intense one. The lowest being 9 points, again, Miss Johnson, and then the highest at a 20, Miss Jordan. So if we could definitely hear from both of you on why you scored low and why you scored high. And I will like to point out that the outlier truly is the 9, because we had 2 18s, 2 15s that were within that 5-point spread.
Okay, I'm sorry because I gave you 9. It was just big. I mean, there is minimal information for me, especially when we talk about the agency description. I don't really know what their mission is and how it ties to the overall mission. I mean, the goals and priorities of CSC. For the contract experience, it was first person, so that was questionable. I mean, it's fine. I can go up. But I really didn't see the alignment with the mission, and also they didn't really articulate what the tangible community impacts are in their written proposal or their in-person proposal didn't translate. That is a little low, so I can raise it out. But it was very
While you think about that, Miss Jordan, if you can speak to why you gave them a perfect score.
Yeah, I also going off of their application, but also going off of my community knowledge of CARE. I can understand why there might be some confusion about their impact because their programs are largely targeted for college age students. However, this specific program is not. That being said, their work with college age students is very renowned, very well known, and that gives me a lot of confidence in their ability to take that to a lower age. Because they already do like pre-collegiate things, which they talked about in their application. I think their mission is clearly aligned with CSC's literacy and resiliency priorities. They emphasize equity, academic support, which is directly relevant to OST work. I guess it is in first person, that is strange. Whoever's running their fiscal controls, I think has successfully overseen the multiple federally funded contracts as well as, yeah, the federal ones are what they mentioned. And I think they have strong financial controls and compliance reliability. Overall think they demonstrate mission alignment, history of impact, and a sophisticated financial infrastructure.
Any other, thank you, Ms. Jordan, any other comments from the other panelists about their scores that they would like to share? Okay, based on this kind of discussion, does anybody want to shift on their scores? On the, for the record? All right. Okay, if no other discussion, we'll move on to the holistic plan of care. From about I think it was a 9-point difference here, our lowest, excuse me, a 10-point difference, the lowest being a 5 and the highest being a 15. Slight consistency, Ms. Johnson, you're at the lower score.
I have a preference. I'm gonna wait. I feel like I'm the only purple. The way I look,
It's totally fine.
Okay.
You were consistent.
Totally fine. But also, like, I don't know these providers. Like, I know that some of you all have community impact, and so for me, when I review an RFP or I'm reviewing, I'm assuming I know nothing about you. So I would like to hear all the things, and it's your opportunity to tell us all the good things that you've done.
So word counts on applications.
What?
I understand what you're saying, but there are word counts.
I asked, they were not right here.
Oh,
but-
you got me there.
There, anybody who felt compelled and in the training, we said, if you encounter a character limit that you feel is hindering your ability, just ask and we can increase it. And we communicated that in our training, and 3 people did. So just for the record, and when we increase it for one, we increase it for everyone. So I just want to be very clear about those that participated in trainings and things like that. So, and again, it's not a problem that it just so happens that when we look at the outliers of the highest and the lowest, right? That's just how it happens. And it doesn't mean that you did anything incorrectly at all, and you don't have to change anything. But if you'd like to speak to what you felt the deficiencies
Also, I
were.
had some not concerns. Their fiscal control section just was, I had more questions about it than, it wasn't really clear to me. And I was also, there didn't seem to be a separation of duties associated with the funds. And then, I mean, there just wasn't a lot of information for me. And then I didn't see where the tangible, there weren't any examples of their impact in their proposal or in person. So once again, I can go up.
I'd like to go down.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my,
I'll give them my.
I'm like looking at my notes and I would like to change my.
Okay.
I'll just offer this, just because of how I'm looking at it now.
Yes, please.
Holistic plan of care, what's the lowest for all of us on this?
Yeah, it was.
Right, so I don't know if we need to discuss it because all of us did it low, right? And changing it, it's a low, right? It's a
I
low, it's a
felt
low.
that their application lacked depth.
Agreed.
That's the comment that I
Right,
read.
so when I look at this, we're discussing it, but I don't know if we need to spend time on it because it's low,
Yeah, it seems like we all understand that.
right? Because they're not,
It's low.
I'm just trying to.
The one thing that I will offer, and I appreciate that, especially in the essence of time. For the record, all of you submitted very detailed notes, and anyone who is not selected for funding will have access to that, and they'll have the opportunity to come in for a one-on-one debrief with our procurement team to go over all of the comments that were written down. So I do just want to share that. To Mr. Davis's point, if there's something that you don't necessarily want to belabor here in this discussion, that's fine. All of those comments that were written by each of you will be provided for each section to any grant seeker. Okay.
So let's make sure we,
Hey, so just,
any of them,
Yeah.
there, whether they're
So-
awarded or not.
so on mine, I used some of the shorthand that I have from mathematics. You see a tilde, that means not.
We'll learn that for sure.
So when I read that, and I'll just say this because it's my lowest of all.
Yeah.
I just lack confidence in like, the first thing I went through was went and answered the questions
Yeah.
that were listed here. And then when I heard them, I wanted to see if there was an alignment between what they answered, what was here, as I kind of extracted and what they said. And I just. that was just-
Yes,
that
I
was-
simply lacked confidence.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Based on this discussion, I still have to ask, would anybody like to shift their scores on this line item?
I'll move to an 8.
Okay,
I think I'll drop to a 10, honestly.
okay. Any other shifts?
Yeah, for consistency based on previous comments, I'll also drop to a 10.
Okay,
Profile.
anything else? All right, we are
Before
going,
we leave here, I want to just do one thing on mine. I think Brownsville probably should get 15.
okay, Brownsville,
Yes.
you got it. I know I said I would come back to you, Ms. Johnson, related to Brownsville. I can come back at the very end, just in case you changed your mind. I flagged it. But unless you want to comment to it now, you want me to come back to you later? Okay, perfect. We're gonna move on to the design portfolio. There was far more consistency in terms of inter-rater reliability here. There were 2 that were outliers because this one for their program design had a much higher point level in terms of up to 35 points. We use a 10-point threshold for that kind of that span to see where the inconsistencies were. And where there was low consensus was on 2 applications, Brownsville Seeds of Literacy and the Holistic Plan of Care. So I know that we started to talk about Brownsville earlier and had a conversation about transportation, about their fees. Here, our lowest score, on the lower end, we had a 15 and an 18 between Mr. Edelman and Ms. Johnson. And then on the higher score, Ms. Miss Maria McIntyre out of 33, an almost perfect score for them. So do you want to speak to what really stood out, or anyone that had a higher score, what really stood out to you about their program design? So we've heard some of the questions that we've had related to transportation and fees that was spoken to of earlier.
I just want to say, I think on my design, I kept in mind that they designed their own curriculum that seems to be working for the kids. So that was one thing why I scored it a 25.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
And I may have misunderstood this, but I did make a note that transportation isn't provided during the summer. Is that what everyone else said?
It was not clear.
I wasn't sure if that was, because I know during the school year, they have some partnerships that allow them to get kids.
I just remember, I think they said maybe they would try to coordinate.
Okay.
It was not required for summer. It was recommended, but not required. So I just, in terms of how the RFP was designed for school year, it was not based on a school campus, like an actual, like Leon County school campus or a publicly funded school campus that has bus service. It was required, but for the summer, it was strongly recommended, not required.
Well, my score leans higher. I mean, like what Miss Jones said, I think their curriculum is proven to work. And they've garnered a lot of support from the community. I think their location, they're located within, I think, one of the priorities codes. They're right next to Griffin. And I have a lot of confidence in their ability to implement a sound program that has sustainable impact on the participating students. Especially because they have like the small class sizes, they have trained teachers. It just seems like, well, I could some staff, but it seems like they have the necessary resources to implement a sound program.
I was the highest score, and so based on my review, again, focusing on what's in the application, they talked about a critical gap in out of school time services for younger students. So I took that into consideration, the K through 5, versus a lot of them going through like the 3 to 8 grade level. I also found the enrichment component being literacy was based off of their agency's core mission and reputation. So keeping it focused would allow for, providing services as intended. And then the curriculum inclusive program section and family engagement plan were adequate, which is why I put some slightly lower than the full marks. But the partnerships were clearly articulated, which is something that was important to me to make sure that that was clear.
Thank you, Ms. Buckingham. Based on this discussion, does anybody want to pivot on their scores? Okay, moving on then, we will, the next one that I identified with a pretty significant gap is the last column, the last row, the holistic plan of care. Lowest score at 11, highest score at a 26. And so I think that Miss Jones, you were at the higher of the score. Would you like to speak to your why? And we can have a discussion.
I felt that the offering is what our kids need. Looking at the counseling, intervention, and they had the staff that was trained to do that. So I think the offerings I felt were important.
I would disagree. I felt that their schedule looked legitimate, but the description and application, like I said before, lacks depth. I don't think it's super clear what services children are specifically receiving, especially based off of their presentation. I know that they do a lot of trauma-informed care and they do a lot of services for adults, a lot of mental health services for adults, but the camp itself, as far as what the children are getting and the outcomes being targeted, that was not super clear to me. I also thought the recruitment strategy was kind of weak. It seems like it relies a lot more on student word of mouth. That being said, I think their inclusion of Saturday programming does add to program accessibility and reach, but I don't know if it really compensates for some of the weaknesses.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what you mean by student word of mouth?
It says in their recruitment strategy.
Oh, you're talking about for the kids to be in the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it says they plan to organize informational sessions or open houses where interested students can learn more about the program, ask questions, and engage youth groups and community organizations. I read that as the emphasis is on those students to spread the word, to learn the information and spread the word, and that's how they're getting people.
And I had challenges with Kingdom Life, how they were gonna use. Because Kingdom Life had their own thing.
Right.
And Kingdom Life was in here saying our students are going to other places. Like there was a lot of, I didn't understand.
Yeah, I don't know if I put, that was something I thought about, but probably more so in the profile part. But I agree with your, I don't want to say concerns, but points on the actual programming. I mean, the schedule looks okay, but I had some specific concerns about the counseling piece and the psychosocial assessment. It is 6 weeks, and I think if you're going to do that targeted of services, that you want to have more of a targeted population of children that you're going to target, and not just like random people, and that they're all going to get individual counseling. I just would have liked to see more detail about that, and also how are we going to like measure the impacts of that over 6 weeks? You know, I was looking at it from a program design aspect. They did give a lot of information in their in-person presentation that would have cleared.
Yeah, I think like a trend across my scoring for them was that ultimately, like, I didn't see the benefit of them existing in the same place as the Kingdom Life place. Like for me, I know this isn't what was applied for or anything, but it would just make more sense, like or I would feel more confident if the Kingdom Life was just larger and just didn't incorporate them at all. Like, I don't see how they are better in any way. And I also kind of question like if the counseling is, I think counseling is great, but I'm not super confident in counseling.
And there's no play. I just think you play. Like, are they gonna play? Play, are they gonna play? Where's the fun? And so I'm a mom, I have an 8-year-old, so that is also my frame of reference. Like, I want you to learn, but I also want you to play. It's like summer. So I don't really see much of that. Just like the fun incorporated.
I would limited diversity.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
And for the purposes in the evaluation rubric, one of the expectations in the program design is that it has to look different from the school day, right?
Yeah.
And that 60% threshold of hands-on experiential learning, that piece of it. So I just that was one of the requirements for the program design.
Given this, I was one of the highest, I'd like to bring it down to 23.
Okay, I can make that pivot. Based on this discussion, does anybody else want to make an adjustment?
before we leave, I have one on Brownsville
Sure.
to move them to, what's my number here? What I did?
You started at a 20?
I did, I'm just wanna go back to my mess of 24
For program design.
for program design. I have
It is recorded.
Can I talk about Brownsville?
Yeah.
I'm at a 15 and I know they have a great reputation for literacy and the kids read, they're great. But once again, I'm looking at it from what are and this is primarily just for the summer. I think the after school program, I really didn't see that many things with it. But once I got into the details of their schedule and what they're doing, they're having 80 kids. And so for instance, like swimming, everybody's not swimming every week. So they have it on their calendar. They say they're going to do it every Thursday. Well, it's not every Thursday. And then when it is a Thursday, 2 groups get to go and the other 2 groups get to go. So the kids that don't get to swim, what are they doing? That was one thing. Also, the thing kind of for the STEM activities, when the letter of support, I think there's like, I have to go back and look, but there was a gap in who was going to receive the services. How do you make that determination? And there we go. So I just wasn't comfortable with what was put on the schedule versus what it really looks like. And also after looking at the budget, I didn't review it for budget issues, but they list several field trips, but only 2 of those field trips are reflected in the budget. So what are they going to be doing the other 2 weeks that they don't have camp? So that was a little concerning for me. And then I think the curriculum issue, I love a homegrown curriculum. I want to see it, like I need to see it. For me, I want to see it. And then I think I scored a little bit lower because even in our ask for supplemental information, I didn't see it provided. So for me, I was like, for me to feel confident, I kind of need to see something. And that's why I rated it at a 15. So I just, as a parent, as a person who has a camper, and it felt like school day. I don't see play. I don't really see like where is a little bit of fun in the summer. So for me, I just was not comfortable getting the vibe.
That's perfectly okay. Based on this discussion, I have documented a change for Mr. Davis and a change for Ms. McIntyre-Waney. Are there any other additions or changes that somebody would like to make or comments shared about any other programs, not just those 2?
That's not. We're doing the iterator reliability, as Colleen said, because of the huge difference in a low and a high. That does not mean that as you reviewed your notes, if there is something in any of the other programs and you decide you would like to do something with your score, please feel free to say that. And I wanted to say that for the record, because we could have applicants that are watching and wondering why they're the ones that are being discussed versus.
Can we go back to the Kingdom Life?
There for program design, absolutely.
Is it And I guess just a clarifying question, are they, I took it that they were gonna be two distinct programs?
They are two distinct programs, two different applications. If you recall, they were separate spaces, so two separate programs and not overlapped with children.
I think it was like.
That's its first one.
They're using them over.
That is correct.
It'd be separate.
So Kingdom Life is in the middle, and their lowest score was a 24, their highest score was a 33. So almost a variation, about a 9-point spread. Not almost, it is.
Okay, I do actually have some things to say on Kingdom Life. Looking at their program design, I had some concerns with. They're trying to scale from 15 to 120 youth students, which I feel like is a really significant jump.
Which one?
For Kingdom Life. Even with their extensive organizational capacity and staffing, I think that's a big jump that leads some concern for me.
Any other comments or questions about the programs here? Program design? Any other additional shifts maybe?
To confirm, my point change was for holistic plan of care, correct?
That is correct, that's what I have.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing none, I'm gonna go to page 2. Right. We're gonna spend a bit of time talking staffing. In the training, you will recall that when we first met with you guys, we talked about high quality programs are usually dependent upon high quality staff, which is why staffing plan is its own separate section that's had its own separate rubric that was required and not just woven into the staffing of the program design. You can see here there's a lot of variation at 25 points. We were looking, I believe it was an 8-point spread, and I might have included a 7-point spread of the 25-point one, but wanted to walk you through that one. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the 17 programs that were highlighted that had moderate to low consensus. And in this section, we have kind of two options. We could jump and talk quality assurance real quick since it's smaller and then spend the rest of our time talking staffing, or we can jump straight into the staffing plan. What would you guys like to do? Oh, everyone good with that?
I was gonna suggest.
I would say
Get the quality.
Yeah.
do the quality first. Is that okay with everybody? Okay.
Yes.
So then, let's look at quality assurance. Again, this was the section about data integrity. Do they have the protocols in place to be able to deliver on what they had said that they're going to design, all of that. Again, we're going to see some consistencies in terms of moderate to low consensus. Brownsville, so we're going to look at Brownsville here. They had a low score of a 6 and a high score, a perfect score of a 15. Pretty big gap. I'm going to just highlight the other ones that are there, and then we'll come back to Brownsville. Omega Lamplighters, their lowest score was a 9, and another perfect score of a 15 is the highest. Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce, their lowest score was a 5, and again another perfect score of a 15. And then finally at the bottom, Holistic Plan of Care. Lowest score of a 5, highest score of a 12. So again, that 7-point spread, that was more of the moderate, not low consensus, but moderate consensus. But because it hit that 7-point threshold, that's why it's included here. With that, we're going to go back up to Brownsville and talk about their quality assurance plan. Love to hear from one of our higher scorers. And some of our lower scores. So highest scores were Miss McIntyre and Mr. Edelman.
You can go.
sure?
I just needed some time to pull it up, but then I can also talk.
I just wasn't ready to back the data I did.
I mean, yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think, again, I was trying to compartmentalize, so that's my frame of reference of making sure like we're taking everything into context. I do have both experience with community as well as the presentation. But what was put in the application, for me in that section, the description of the program, protocol, and data collection were adequate. So again, it was, you know, what I would consider average. But I think what made it up for me was the subscale description. In the section data, it was very thorough. And so it suggested that services would be delivered as intended or proposed. And so I think that really would cover down that section for me.
Yeah,
There's a lot of detail.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Very
felt their,
detailed.
yeah, I
What-
agree. I felt their insurance plan was very sufficient. And my
Section
flexible reliance on CSC approved tools. And their outcome data, like what they're measuring it's relevant and it's attainable, which is not reflected in some other programs.
So some of the guiding questions as a reminder were, how well does the proposal describe its program evaluation protocol or its data collection policy? Does it include specific reference to the collection, storage, and recording of participant and program level data? How confident are you in their description of their quality controls? Do they describe a process for making adjustments to improve service delivery as issues arise? Does it include outcome data achieved previously, if applicable, of course, if it's a brand new startup? How relevant, if they did include that data, how relevant are those outcomes to informing the current proposal? And how relevant is the description of prior experience with data systems on their ability to meet the expectations of CSC Leon? Ultimately, how confident are you in their ability to deliver on the expectations?
I'm not sure if I saw any data about the children's performance.
I think very basic data. I expected there to be more since they've done it for a few summers. I would have liked to see like 3 years? For me, if I was doing this myself, I would have, and I'm trying to win again, I would have provided very specific outcomes because I've done this for a while.
I feel like they put more than almost anybody. Like, so they have the mandatory
That's what I'm
things that they
saying.
have to report. And so first we wanted to see, can they deliver on the things they have to report, right? But it looks here like they went beyond that, talked about letter naming fluency, word reading fluency, oral reading fluency, like they gave specific, there's a 12% average increase. So it looks like not only do they have that full-time person to make sure that the required data gets handled, but they also seems like they had some additional stuff that they're reporting on.
A question, if I may ask. I know that we're not supposed to inflate our scores if they submit logic models. Are we supposed to consider if they don't submit that?
No.
No, so like essentially it's more context, but it is not to.
Right, like they got a bonus point for their logic model. You don't take away, if they didn't include one, you don't take away from that. It was not a requirement, it was a bonus.
Okay.
So I'm understanding that the only data that they provided for the children was that Dibbles data. The fluency, et cetera, et cetera. I was looking for more. I'm sorry.
I will raise my score just to be consistent with similar proposals, so I'll raise my score.
What would you like to raise it to?
I'll do 10.
Based on this discussion, are there any other comments or anybody else wishing to shift?
I'll put my up to 814.
Any other shifts?
I
Yes, sir.
I hammered Brownsville. I'm
Yeah, you
sorry.
did, honestly.
I was hard on them. I'm just trying to think of where. Why?
Okay.
Why? Yeah, so 13.
I'll do 13 as well.
Okay. Any other shifts? All right. We're gonna jump down to Omega Lamplighters. Lowest score of a 9, highest score of a 15. And I do want to just remind that I know it looks like the same folks are lower scores and higher scores. That is super common because that means that you were consistent in how you view everything, right? So I know I don't want it to feel like I'm picking on you and saying you were an easy score or a hard score or anything like that. That's not what is being reflected here. It just means that you were consistent. So again, I'll look at our higher scores for Omega, and that was Ms. McIntyre Waney and Ms. Jordan, and then on the lower end, Ms. Johnson. Again, this is Omega Lamplighters.
Can we start this one just a little differently? Can I ask a question? Marie, you're a data person. On this one, Omega Lamplighters, and I'm just doing comparatively. This might not be fair and tell me if it is or isn't. Those are the same. But when I look at Omega Lamplighters for what I saw for data, and I'm not a data person, so I'm not claiming that. What did you see that made them perfect in your estimation?
To me, it was the detail. So when you're talking about data, there's so many ways to collect it and many different methodologies that if you can do it in detail, there is increased confidence on my part that you know what you're doing, what you're looking for, and how to collect it. And so I think the detail of this section for Mega Lamplighters, as well as them, kind of describing a systematic approach to the collection through not just surveys, but they also talk about interviews and assessments. That to me was like, okay, you'll have robust data that then you can measure and address, anything like as your program is going.
I agree with that as well. I felt that they had a very detailed data collection policy, the one that they uploaded. And it covers everything from like security, storage, who has access, and then compliance. They've got a few years experience using reputable reporting software. Again, I felt like their data system, their data plan was very well defined. And it incorporates continuous improvement structure. So it's not static, I guess.
I think I made an error. I think my score is not correct. So
Okay. That's another part of the reason why we do this. It's not just that. Typos happen. They absolutely happen. So I'll flag that. You let me know what score you would like to give Ms. Johnson. It's low. Thank you. Any other comments or discussion about Omega Lamplighters data and quality assurance plan? All right, we'll skip to the next line, Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce. We have a low score of a 5 and a high score of a 15. So a pretty big jump there for a 15-point scale. Again, on the higher end, we have Ms. McIntyre Waney and Mr. Davis. On the low end, Mr. Edelman.
I can go. So during the presentation, correct me if I'm wrong, but they thought that the data person was provided. And so they didn't have.
So I can explain that for sure. So sorry, because I did notice it. There was in the RFP a piece about external third-party evaluation. And that was the question that they heard because that was separate from what they were asked to provide. The data entry operator was the question that was asked, the question that they heard, and they did put in their email writing that they thought they were asking about that third-party evaluation. That is separate and was not supposed to be considered, which is why it wasn't on your scoring rubric. And that is what that was related to.
So
Thank you for bringing that up.
Do they have a full-time or part-time, or like what do they have then for that data?
That would be part of their staffing plan.
Well, but that matters for the data.
I'm saying if you were looking for it, yes,
Okay,
sir.
sorry.
To that point though, because that would impact me, I think where I saw here, Creative Mind Solutions really come through. And so trying to compartmentalize the section, I wasn't trying to say, well, in your profile, you didn't talk about this, so I'm going to score you lower in this. But because you did talk about it here, and I was confident in all of the details for the evaluation policy, I scored a 15. Now, if I was concerned about staffing, does that reflect in the staffing section or because it would impact data? in this section.
Good question.
So considering that they have that was kind of like a misunderstanding, I'll go to the average, so I'll go to 11.
Okay. I will say that how you approached it, you should be consistent.
Okay.
Right? So if you compartmentalize consistently across all 17, you should maintain that as your approach. If somebody else chose to make the connection, they should do that consistently across their 17, and that's okay.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
It's very hard, I think, to not connect them all because they are all related, for sure. But that definitely displays a form of discipline, and I think you all displayed that looking through all 17 of them in your own ways.
I trusted the system would bring the scores together to be accurate, so I compartmentalized.
I will say that with that shift, it does bring them into high consensus. Are there any other comments or discussions about the minority chamber?
I chose kind of like an average score for a lot of the reasons that have already been thrown out. They demonstrate competency in employing data collection software. I thought their evaluation protocol, their data policy was very comprehensive. I had some concerns about the minority commerce's side of the partnership as they have limited youth or limited experience collecting youth data. But I think CMS effectively covers the operational and evaluation parts of it. But again, I kind of like we said, would have liked to see a little bit more about the partnership, about the CMS side of the partnership.
Okay. Last for this section, doesn't have to be last, but last that I flagged was holistic plan of care. On the lower end with a 5 and on the higher end with a 12 with some 10s right behind. With that 7-point gap, it lands them here. Any comments on the lower end or the higher end? Or somewhere in the middle?
I'm gonna keep my score. I think I'm gonna keep my score. It was something that Mr. Edelman brought up earlier, with the, well, disregard because we're not in staffing yet. It's a good
Okay.
point.
I can say that I found their outcome data section to be kind of a little bit lengthy, but pretty vague and like maybe not super specific about what exactly that means. And I think, yeah.
I caught where I was not fully consistent here. Because a lot of the subsections said like see below. Really what they gave us that we were to review was the data collection policy. And I did write that it was detailed, but it did not include sample data analysis. So again, not kind of showing like how they would go through that process, rather, just very general plan. So I would bring my score down to 10.
Okay. Your change has been noted. Any other?
I don't have to give, I concur with
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah, you don't have to speak if you don't want to. Any other questions, comments, or shifts on holistic plan of care?
I'm a little confused on their outcome report. So it seems like they created this in tandem with DCF. Was this the plan created for them to follow?
It looked like a monitoring report from like a contract monitoring.
Okay.
That's what I took it to be, but I could be wrong. I don't know if that's what that was.
Okay.
Let me review it. That's what I thought it was.
It seems like a meeting that they had, and this is the like the write-up from the meeting.
It looks like for when I initially reviewed it, I assumed it was their monitoring report, but okay.
Based on this discussion, any edits or revisions to scores? Are there any other programs that you'd like to discuss quality assurance before we move to the big piece?
I'll just say this, I don't remember, by my score, it must have been citizens, but one group talked about having backup, having data person backup people were trained to be the backup, and that was the only group that I saw that, and given my scoring person, must have been citizens, so, good job, citizens, for making that duplicity.
All right, we are coming into staffing plan. This is gonna be probably the lengthiest debate. I'm looking at our time. We have been sitting for an hour and 15 minutes. Do we want to take a quick bathroom break? We have the 2 and then come back? Or do we want to plow through?
We're good either way.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. All right, staffing plan. Okay. A lot of, and feel free if you need to step out, there's 2 restrooms. A lot of moderate to low consensus across these. So we'll first take out Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend. At the lower end, 16, higher end, perfect score of a 25. So I think it was Miss Jones at the 15 and Miss McIntyre at the 25. Spend some time in staffing. Yes.
I felt that despite the multi-location plan, their staffing plan demonstrated kind of like a shared leadership model across all the service sites. So I have some confidence in the consistency of program, I guess like dispersion. It was unclear. Oh, okay, that's what it was. I took some points off because a lot of their, at least in their staffing model, it seems like there's a lot of reliance on volunteer staff. So I'm with any kind of program that had volunteers, like a big piece of their staffing plan. I just have concerns with consistency of that. How are you training them? What's the turnover like for volunteer staff? And just how much reliance are you putting on staff that is not like required to be here?
My score was high given the detailed organizational chart that also showed the appropriate staff to student ratio. And again, I think this one, there was the context of while there would be across multiple locations, there is, the staff on top of like the interns or the volunteer support and the experience doing so.
I thought that they had an appropriate staffing plan, an appropriate organizational chart, but I didn't really see who was gonna be there, and that bothered me.
Who's gonna be with?
All these volunteers, all these interns, are they gonna stay through the summer? That was are they gonna be able to retain these people to do all of this? They're doing a lot. So that was
Yeah, that's my concern as well.
I'm gonna actually change my score. I'm gonna give them a 20.
Okay,
I'd like to do a 20 as well.
Kristen?
Yes.
Okay. Those 2 changes have been noted, and I am gonna pull, once we finalize, I'm gonna put it up on the screen so everyone can see it before we final, just so everyone, if you're like meticulous people who like to take notes of what everybody else is doing. That does bring us in, any other changes or discussion related to Boys and Girls Club?
Clarifying question?
Sure.
So they have their Gadsden and their Gadsden County sites listed on their staff plan as well. You're just looking at Leon County.
So we did require them to provide an organizational chart of their entire program, which is why they did, because they do serve multiple counties. I think Jefferson is also listed. That was one of the requirements. And what we're funding is only Leon County positions.
This one.
Yep. Any other thoughts or questions on Boys and Girls Club? We're back on Brownsville to talk about staffing. We have the lowest score of a 12 and the highest score of a 22 with some 19s in there as well. So on the higher end, Mr. Davis, Mr. Edelman, Miss Jordan, Miss McIntyre on the higher end, and then Miss Jones and Miss Johnson in the middle.
I rated them a little higher with some points taken off because I didn't think there was a super clear plan for ongoing training outline. But the pre-service training and staff qualifications specifically, I thought were extremely robust. They have a specialized workforce that is equipped and trained to serve the students year round. I believe they're including I think someone had asked this, but I think roughly the same staff will be used during the summer and after school. And they have actual teachers at the school being pulled to serve as staff members, which adds to that rapport, and also just like expertise. Yeah, I think my only concern was there wasn't a clear plan for ongoing training. And I should assume that because they're teachers, they're already kind of getting that during the school year, but I don't want to assume. So I would have liked to see that a little more outlined.
I rated it lower for a few different reasons. One, I didn't think they provided enough detail on their program managers, their expertise, especially like in comparison to what they wrote in their job descriptions for educational experience. And I think I also took off points for, but I need to make sure it's correctly, for the youth positions, and particularly, I guess maybe you guys can provide clarity about when they would use a certified teacher, because the description says just high school diploma, and so that was one of my concerns. I know they said they will transition teachers, but for me, I would have liked to see at least a minimum of certified teacher, especially since they're doing literacy. And I think I might go up because I think, let me look at their supplemental for their organizational chart, because the one they provide, I thought was basic.
I was confused about the pre-service training. And if you're going to use your own curriculum and you're focusing on literacy, how much are you going to how much are you going to be able to do in that pre-service training for the folks who are you going to be using? That was my
I
concern.
think they're using people who are already there, like the teachers.
And then they said intern. But the interns may not be there in the summer. I mean, if they said intern, was that just during the school year or was that just the summer? I couldn't figure that out. I'm sorry.
I think the interns were summer and after school. And I'm reading it again, I see preference is given to certified teachers and staffing. But I do remember during the presentation that being something that she emphasized, that was that the teachers play the role of the youth development like specialists.
Yeah, and to go back and to kind of back up about the pre-service trainings, that was another reason I scored high score, because it said it was facilitated by the program manager. And I was unsure if that was gonna be their literacy-based training, and if so, they did not identify his credentials to provide that training. So it was unclear.
It says topics will include safety regulations and which he is qualified to do.
Okay, so I can when we get this. Let me think about it.
While Ms. Johnson is thinking about her score, are there other comments about Brownsville or pivots to her scores that anybody would like to discuss?
Sure. Ms. Jordan. Something that might note say different, so.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe I took the wrong note. I have a note here says that the summer staff is different from the school year. I hear you saying something different.
Yes, okay, so I have that written as one of my questions. And the answer I have is roughly saying staff will be used in the summer and after school, including staff turnover between students being pulled as counselors and teachers being pulled as youth development specialists.
So it's
So it seems like there is some congruency, but they're not exactly the same. Yeah.
So that also factored for my, because we were considering after school care as well. Back to the ensuring that like your help with homework. Are you gonna be qualified to help with said work? So. I think I'm just. Let me think about it.
I'm gonna circle it to possibly come back to you and just and ask that we could. Okay, just that. Oh, no, I did. Just kidding. Okay. Any other thoughts on Brownsville? And I will pin it and come back, Miss Johnson. All right, we'll take up Camp Summer Garden.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Like I just felt confident, so I would love to hear the people who did it, their explanation. And then, you know, from the change again, you can bring some my kids.
So on our lower end of Camp Summer Garden, Miss Jones and Miss Johnson. Middle, we have Mr. Davis, Miss Jordan, and Ms. McIntyre.
It's loaded.
Yeah.
Can I get a scraper?
I also felt pretty confident about Camp Summer Garden. Their staff plan was extensive and clear. Same kind of concern I had with Boys and Girls Club. I just had some consistency concerns with the number of positions that are volunteer based. But I thought their pre-service and ongoing training reflects their commitment to making inclusive spaces. Added by research pretty much, that's really my score. But yeah, I felt pretty confident about it, minus that volunteer-based piece. Because that can always just bring some challenges.
I'm gonna go with 20.
For Camp Summer Garden?
So does anyone, like, somebody who gave it 18 or 20 or 16, like, why did you take points off?
You said you're going up to 20?
Yeah,
Volunteer, I mean, it's the volunteer piece. Because at a camp, you have to have people who are gonna be there. Am I in the wrong one?
Camp Summer Garden? I can see your point, especially with a camp that is meant to prioritize neurodivergence. Yes, consistent staff is extremely important. I don't know that I would have taken off as many points as you did, though.
Okay, well,
Well, not to say that your score is invalid. You just tell us a little bit more about it.
that's it.
My initial thoughts, I just thought they didn't give enough detail. With their response and org chart. But I was inconsistent of what I did before, and so I think they're
So,
good with this one.
so like, if you take out all the volunteers, their ratio is still like, I think like 1 to 12 or something, so like.
Oh, we're talking about Camp Summer Garden?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I had them as a 1 to 3 ratio.
Yeah.
So they're 1 to 3 because they have all these volunteers, right? But when you take out these volunteers, I don't know, so 1 to 15, 1 to 12 or something. So it's like, I think the volunteers are so that because of the neurodivergent needs, they're able to like maybe take a kid to the side.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's not like they don't have, paid staff doing what needs to be done. Yeah.
I think she mentioned that.
I think, for me, I think I'm low. I think I wanna go up, but I just wanna articulate this and see if everyone else capped it. Go ahead, Ms. Jones.
It seems like the project manager was the fallback person. If anything went wrong, it was her. That if the volunteer wasn't there and they needed to pull a child out, it was the project manager. And the project manager has, I think, a ton of duties already. So I was just concerned about, even though it said 1 to 3, can we really support all of the kids?
That's okay.
So that was mine.
I would like that, no, go ahead.
No, my memory, once again, I just would begin. Based on the presentation, the in-person presentation and the population, it seems like the acuity might be like higher. So I think I went a little bit lower because of the the qualifications that they're asking for the youth development specialist, the high school graduate. But I mean, I think overall, I'm confident that they will be staff. I was just in the weeds about it. So I think I'll do 18.
Changes noted.
I have a clarifying question that I included in my comments, and I believe it was brought up slightly. When they talk about staffing, they said that there would be 0 full-time and 0 part-time on the grant, but that there would be a number of 7 contract staff. So I think the choice of putting into contract to me is, wouldn't that then be part-time? Like what's the difference there? How was that perceived? Because to me, that 0 was like, okay, with the population that you're working with, that could lead to, gap is not the right word, but that's what it's coming up to.
Yeah.
I think I'll keep my score the same.
Okay, so I'm noting the one change from 16 to 18, yes, on row column 3. I noted, Mr. Davis, did you say you wanted to shift?
No, that's what I was thinking about, but
Okay.
I just want to articulate. So my notes here, the question was asked, I don't know if it was me or remember, is the needs, maybe it's in there, the needs for the CSC Leon funding. And one of them was for more staff, right? Paid staff. So just that conversation about staffing. And I was confident in what I heard. I think his name was Davis Pendleton.
Something like that.
Correctly. So I think I'm good. I just wanted to.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
Totally fine. Any other, oh, sorry.
The only note I have is that I have the only paid staff is summer and after school counselors. And the program director serves as an in-kind donation.
Correct. I have that too.
Yes,
That
okay.
the program director is not paid.
Okay,
That's why she's doing everything. It's a passion, right?
yes.
Any other comments or questions about the staffing plan for Camp Summer Garden? All right, we're gonna go down to Florida State Alliance of YMCA's. We have a fairly wide spread. This might be one of the widest. The lowest score of an 11, the highest score, perfect score of a 25 by both Miss McIntyre and Miss Jordan.
So I think one of my reasons was it was not clear. It did not seem like they had an adequate plan for staffing the other 3 schools that they proposed. And I was just that weighed into my
This is an open discussion. It's okay.
No,
It's
it is my
okay.
decision making. They provided the information about
Rudiger.
they provided a lot of information about Rudiger and the program manager
Yeah. the one-
and her experience at Rudiger, but I didn't see anywhere else there. And then once again, I got in the weeds and I looked at their job description, their position descriptions, and then just the qualifications for the youth workers. And the minimum is the high school diploma. Now, I do recognize the fiscal impact of that, so I'm willing to change, but I do think it's important that if you're going to be offering literacy services, I think it's important to have somebody who is qualified and credentialed to kind of do that. But I think I can go up because this is more than some.
So let me interject real quick. You do not have to qualify by saying you went into the weeds. That's what we wanted you guys to do. So it is okay.
Good.
Whatever, that is good. So don't apologize for that. Don't apologize for your scores. Don't feel like you have to do any of that. That's what we wanted you all.
Their org chart was very general. And then I also just the level of, and I don't know if this way, anybody else's, in their in-person presentation, it was the hierarchy of involvement, and it did not seem like it was, local, right? Which is fine, but there just was a lack of like, it just didn't seem like their staffing plan was based on the local needs, and it was more broadly for a higher level, and they were just gonna like figure it out when it came down to media level work here.
Yeah,
I hadn't considered that, yeah.
I wanted that connection to Rudica to be stronger because that's where they had success. So if you have success at a location, I need you to have those people support your program and work in your program.
I think she said that they would.
But she didn't say,
So this was the YMCA.
Yeah.
They were
She said-
using Y Reads.
they want
in
Jacksonville.
Yeah, it was,
They were training people from
They
Jacksonville.
also did say they had people who were with them before
Yeah.
that were waiting to come right back out.
Yeah, very eager. They have a lot of staff at Rudiger, from what I understand.
it doesn't seem intentional to me. It seemed like, we're gonna get back in the game, and I'll provide.
So I want to reiterate. I like where you are, and I appreciate that you are hard and detailed in a way, because all of us don't approach this the same way, and we value your approach.
Yes.
So I don't want to apologize for your approach, but I love it. right?
Yeah, you're not dumping on anybody.
Yeah, and it's just like, it is 20 years of program work,
That's why you're
right?
sitting, that's
So
why you're sitting where you sit, that's why we're listening.
I just don't want to be so off.
Is it,
I wanna be
no, it's
fair.
okay to be.
No, that's fine.
Be the outlier, we need outliers.
Outliers are okay, but that's why we talk about it.
So I just want to follow up on, they've been out of this game for 6 years.
Mhm.
I asked that question. This is their first step
Yeah.
coming back in. And, yeah, I understand where they are. And I want us to get to the next part, because this is all good. So heard. I just want to follow up
I'm
on.
gonna give it 13.
Okay. Your change is noted.
Yeah, I understand the lack of kind of like personability, I guess. It does seem very broad. It doesn't seem to quite match local needs, so I can understand that. And for that reason, I think I might take my score down a little bit. That being said, I think their staff roles are very well defined, their student teacher ratios are fine. They have extensive recurring training that happens, and they have a qualified program manager. I would argue that the qualifications they have for their positions line up with a lot of like after school type program qualifications. Just to have a high school diploma, that could be like a student who's in family and child science, at FSC, they have the experience, they have the knowledge, but they only have a high school diploma. So I don't know that is the like negating factor for me. I understand what you're saying,
No, and I recognize that.
but I do agree with your point that it does seem kind of general. So with that being said, I'll drop my score to a 22.
So I'm just gonna repeat this. I'm upping your score, Ms. Johnson, to a 15, dropping your score, Ms. Jordan, to a 22.
Yes. I thought it was 13.
No, I didn't just call me.
Oh.
Sorry,
Do you want us to change them in?
no, okay, I got you. This is the official record now over
I
here.
was gonna say, I'm looking for an edit, but.
Okay, so
Don't have to do it.
Okay.
I get like, given some of the comments that have been made in like my secondary review again of what was included. The point of they had different locations and that was not very clear. I think if I would have put a little bit more emphasis on that, my score would be a little different. And so I'm hearing that, I'm thinking through it. And I would like to bring my score down to a 22
Okay,
for that reason.
your change is noted.
We're so aligned.
Any others? All right, we're gonna take up Institute for Music Business. Our lowest in this area was a 13, Mr. Edelman, and a perfect score, Miss McIntyre.
Yeah, I can say my reasoning here.
Okay,
So they just said like for the ratio question, they just said we meet the 150 student ratio, which was my first thing. Because I would want to know what exactly that is, and it's different for different age ranges. And then also, when I was looking at like the question, like how confident are you that the program will be managed by an individual with the, like, I just didn't feel that when the presentation was given. I didn't feel the presenters, like, I just didn't get, I didn't feel confident that these people would deliver a good camp that students would both that would strike the balance between enjoyment and that educational aspect. I just,
For reference purposes, they are 6 to 8 and the requirement in the RFP is 1 to 15 for that age cohort. I just want to, for reference purposes.
yeah,
This was the most of the sun.
Yes.
but they didn't say like, we are 1 to 15, they didn't, we meet the.
No, I wanted to, just for the record, said that in terms of the RFP, you're fine, absolutely.
I do think in their presentation, they didn't go into a lot of detail on their specific qualifications, but I do believe passion was very evident, and like the excitement for the program. I had some issues with pre-service and ongoing training. I mean, that's a specific question that you asked, and like you said, quality staff leads to a quality program, and there's not a lot of detail in how they're preparing their staff, especially given that most of their instructional employees are contracted. So I wonder what kind of training they're doing with people that are already coming in with their own stuff going on.
With this one, with this application in particular, I think across the different four different sections, I varied again because of my approach being compartmentalized. For this one, when I thought of staffing, I thought of like the qualifications, the experiences that the staff would bring into the program.
What qualifications?
They're bringing in like songwriters, they're bringing in someone who works in like the music industry. I remember talking about the specific people that they're looking to bring in and them being very intertwined with the music business.
Yeah, I guess that is exactly what I got too,
Mhm.
but I failed to see how that translated into. So that's the one aspect of the camp, and I think they'll
Yeah.
totally deliver on that aspect. But then there's other aspects of, the enrichment and also the camp management.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They did FSU, College of Music. Yeah, county schools for something, but I need to just look a little bit closer.
I might be thinking of talked about how like songwriting leads to like literacy improvement and now that's right, was that a different one? That
Yeah, that was a different one.
Okay.
If
Correct, I caught that.
it's about this economic, the business aspects of
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be more articulate. So, I think that exposing people to a certain industry is great, but I don't think the music business is the right industry to, for a nonprofit to fund exposure to, because it's a market that is like a feast or famine one. It's an exploitative one. So when it comes to trying to, show people their opportunities, I don't think this is the right one to silo young kids into.
I'm gonna counter that.
I'm gonna counter that, so-
Yeah, we just want to hold for a moment. We are talking staffing plan currently, and that is definitely a conversation about program design.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to couch that we have moved on, and I do just want to, I'm keeping
thank
us
you.
on track. Thank you.
I would like to know, for me, what held a lot of weight was the program manager, as they describe in the application, being someone who is also not just with a bachelor's degree in business administration, but years of experience in songwriting, music, producing, recording artists, all of those like relevant pieces that to me, I think I made the connection with those being transferable skills. And so you have the staff that has the experience that will be leading and managing the program.
And I think there's value in having access or having options that aren't just STEM. you know? I understand the point you're making, and this is program design, but they have qualified staff to come and teach these children how to successfully integrate in the music business, and not in a way that's just like, I'm gonna be a singer, you know? So I see what you're saying, but I think the qualifications of the staff partnered with what their kind of purpose is, I find that this actually is a fairly good model to encourage students to get into like workforce education.
Based on this discussion, does anybody want to make revisions to their scores for Institute for Music Business Staffing Plan? All right, we'll take Omega Lamplighters. We have a low score of a 16 and a high score of a 25. So that 9-point spread. Miss McIntyre at the high, Miss McIntyre, Miss Jordan and Miss Jones at the higher end, and Miss Johnson the lower end, which is fine. Don't feel bad. It just means you get to top left. And you also don't have to if you don't want to. If you're like, I feel good about this.
You could just say I have nothing else to say.
Yes, like for. Yeah.
Very commenting.
I'll start with something just on a different angle. I appreciated that they kept their program open until 1830. That was for.
I felt their organizational chart was a little difficult to follow, but I felt that they have high quality, highly qualified leadership. I like the small ratios, and I think their pre-service training and ongoing staff training seem relatively comprehensive and well structured.
I had a different feeling about the org chart because I loved how detailed it was. And you know, the color coding also helped to really see like there is a significant you know, effort behind the staffing plan. And then I also noted that they exceeded what I would say is exceeding the staff to student ratios for summer and after school, keeping it 1-8. If I'm not mistaken, for the age range that they're thinking about.
Or 1 to.
Yeah, and so because they kept it in the summer, the ratio is 1-8, regardless of the ages that they're working with, that was the lowest ratio. And that reflected well.
This is the one that was shifting to Smith Williams.
That is correct.
Right. I remember your comment on this.
Yeah, that is
Why did
correct.
I score the 23?
We're doing a staff thing. We're
Staff.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
What's that?
They have a lot of staff as well.
That's probably why.
Based on this discussion, does anybody want to pivot on their scores?
I'll go to 18.
All right, your change is noted. We'll take the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce. This was another a 9-point spread for this one, the lowest score being an 11, the highest score being a 20. Mr. Davis and Miss McIntyre, the higher end. Do you want to speak to your justification? Or vice versa with the lower, the on the lower end? No, I said the highest were 20, and that was Davis and McIntyre.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You did.
Sorry. No, if I was maybe speaking to the positives, I'm being straight-faced.
The reason I might have taken off some points here is because, and I think it's getting into this theme that we keep bringing up of where does big mid minority commerce, chamber of commerce end and CMS start? I guess where they're pulling staff. I assume Creative Mind Solutions has teachers on staff, and those are the teachers they're mentioning in the staff plan. That is not clear to me.
I scored them lower just because I felt like they answered the requirements. It was just minimal detail for me. But I can go up to be in line with my other recommendations, but I also agree, I didn't really see. It was not clear to me how much outside of, I guess, the fiscal, is big in. They're doing the fiscal training, how much the staffing, or if that even matters. So I will go up, I will go to.
I think in this partnership, that is relevant information to know who's kind of being pulled from where, who plays what role.
I'll give them an 8.
Your change is noted.
I will keep my score of 20 because to me, I took points off. Everything was adequate, but I found the organizational chart to be minimal. And that the student ratio did exceed expectations. So there was a lot of things that were like higher for me, but then also lower. So it balanced out at a 20.
Yeah, so I did similar, limited detail on the chart. And I think this was the group we spoke about earlier, with the misreading about the data analyst on the here. And then the training and qualifications were. So it's taking points.
Based on this discussion, any other edits to scores? All right, then we'll move down to Diamonds in the Rough, Sports, Entertainment, and Education. Lowest score here of a 14, highest score of a 22 for that 8-point gap. Miss Jones at the lower end, and Mr. Edelman at the higher end, if you want to speak. And a perfect consistency among Mr. Davis, Ms. Jordan, and Ms. McIntyre there. I think those are the first ones. But yes, if anyone wants to speak to Diamonds in the Rough. We call it Jersey. If you ever hear us say that, the recording, if we say Jersey, that's what we're talking about.
Wondering.
So
I watched that one on the recording and I was like, what is this acronym? I've never even actually saying it. Beautifully looking.
It's this, okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Edelman.
What was the reasoning for the 16 and the 14? Like what did you take points from?
So for me, and this is where I want scores. I looked at your response to the RFP. I don't think they're awful. I just think that people didn't provide enough information. It's very basic. So my score is based on that.
I guess yours is actually in line, but
I think they provided a lot in their supplemental. I think the initial staffing plan was they didn't offer, but their packet, they gave a lot of info. I think, but I don't know. Anybody else thinks that? I can go up also.
well, I guess, because yours is really in line with your scores, it's not like abnormal, but the 14 is kind of different, so I'm wondering what made it lower than the rest for the.
I don't know if I know they have a lot of different programs and they have consultants for several different programs that they're going to do. I don't know if I looked at the schedule when these consultants were going to be providing services.
I think in their supplemental packet, they outlined that a little bit in their.
Well, I guess with so many folks who are experts in the area, I'm assuming that's why they chose these consultants. I can go up 2 points.
Okay, your change is noted.
I can go to 16.
Yes, ma'am. Any other edits or discussion?
2 points as well.
Mr. Edelman? All right, 2 at 24, you got it.
All right.
All right, your change is noted. Thank you. Any other additional edits or discussion for diamonds in the rough? So sad. Okay, then we'll take She Academy. The lowest score here is an 11 and the highest score is a 22. So Mr. Davis and Miss McIntyre on the higher end, and Miss Johnson on the lower end of that one.
I'll give him an 8.
Oh, okay. Your change is noted. That actually does bring everyone into a high consensus. Any just further discussion on She Academy? Is it 18? All right, the next one is the Stryker Youth Art Project. The lower score here is a 6. The higher score here is the highest score here is a 20. On the higher end, we have Miss Jordan and Miss McIntyre. And then on the lower end, Miss Johnson.
I will go up just to be more in line, but it was unclear to me outside of the program manager and the staffing was not clear about who would be there day to day. And I know during the in-person presentations, talked to volunteers or people wanting to help, it just was not clear to me. But I will go up. Let me figure out what the.
I do want to just for consistency, you don't have to. And so you said that a couple of times.
Yeah.
I was being rigid, so I don't want to be
But
rigid.
you've consistently.
Yeah.
Going up for all of them doesn't actually change anything.
Yeah, okay, I'll live.
Yeah.
Now that you've gone up for most of them, if you don't, now then
No,
that's.
I'm gonna, yeah.
I understand why you would have scored lower. The comment I have is I don't think they provided descriptions for their data or fiscal managers. The staff specified to support, the staff to support the program seemed well qualified, but I felt like they lacked detail explaining staff training and qualifications for working with the youth. Is this the one?
Just tally whiz.
Yes, okay, thank you, I do remember that. Yeah, it wasn't like the strongest, but it wasn't the worst.
They said their staff was qualified, but it seems like they haven't really pinned down their staff. This person might, but they're not sure if they will. Because they didn't say that they will. That was my, you said your staff is qualified, but you're not telling us who the person is who's qualified.
I would like to lower, we're on strikers, right?
We are on Stryker, yeah.
I like to lower mine to 14.
Okay,
I will remind to a 17.
change is noted. Any other discussion or edits to scores? I have Mr. Edelman changing to a 14, Miss Johnson changing to 10, and Miss Jordan changing to a 17.
Hey, so for me, if for those who are hired, can you just share what your thoughts were on the staffing? My notes, like this was one of the more challenging ones for me, just because I could not get details. And if I remember correctly, before I speak this, I want to see what I wrote. Did not complete what I wrote. I think I remember this one. Yeah, so this one was, there were two organizations, SIAP and the Urban Arts Ensemble, which had similar organizational structure with the people in it, same names. And then there was the Ardeline Toomer Brown. And then the pre-service training was by Mr. Brown. And when you look at his note, he said he was an engaged strategist. And that then seemed to align with the actual trainings that need to be presented. So just for those who scored higher, was there something else that I'm missing? Because on this one, if I could go up, I would, but
You scored a what?
12.
A 12. There was some discussion about background screening for the staff.
I have that here too.
Yeah, I don't think that was clarified.
Yeah, I feel like that, when they said there'll be more volunteers
Yeah.
and things, I'm like, well, at what point could that become a liability?
That's part of my question.
And like safety concern.
I'm good where.
Okay,
I'll go to a 15.
your change is noted. Any other edits or discussion for Strikers Youth Arts Project and their staffing plan?
Performing arts ones are like really good. I'll go down to a 17 based on the conversation.
Okay, your change is noted, Ms. McIntyre. All right, we're taking up the last tab highlighted here, with the holistic plan of care. We have at the lower end, 10 and 11, and then at the higher end, 24. Truly the outlier here is the 24 compared to the comparatively on holistic plan of care.
I think there's nothing was variant. I'm telling it up.
You can, if
Yeah.
you want to stay there, you can stay there. Based on your, looking at our criteria and your compartmentalization.
Oh, I'll put why I scored lower. I can't talk for that. I thought there's number of staff and the staff responsibilities didn't really line up. I think the executive director is meant to serve as the program manager and the certified counselor responsible. And from what I remember, she said the certified counselor is doing like 2-hour assessments on 60 different students. So I'm like, you're counseling and your program manager and your executive directing. It seems like this assistant director wears all of the other administrative roles. I just didn't have a lot of confidence in the staff capacity to manage all of that based on what they outline as their responsibilities.
I had a weird thing I saw about the staff to student ratio where it was like K through 1 to 10, 2 through 4, 1 to 13, and then grades 5 to 6 back to 1 to 10, and then back to 1 to 13. And I don't think they explained why that was.
Because we're talking about ratios for the purposes of the recording, I will remind that the K through 2, the expectation was 1 to 10. For 3 through 5, the expectation was 1 to 13, and the 6 through 8 was 1 to 15. So I just, for the purposes of the recording of what the expectation was in the RFP, your point still taken valid.
I think it's just overall for me, I mean, I'm not gonna finish this one. But I think they just didn't offer enough, a level of detail, and I think the responsibilities were not, the executive director seems to be doing a lot, so.
For me, I noted that the organizational chart was detailed, which because of the information they included, that held weight for me. And then the like position descriptions as well, kind of made me see the like relevant experience, performance and qualifications as a positive. The staff to student ratio was a bit confusing for me as well. And so I think giving this a second look and, making an adjustment that from the comments that have been made, I would bring down from a 24 to a 22.
Okay, your change is noted. Any additional changes? Now, before we finalize, I know I had flagged Ms. Ms. Johnson for Brownsville, if you wanted to look at their staffing plan.
I didn't think it changed. Can I put the Institute for Music Business Design down to 19?
Institute for program design, yes, give me 1 second.
Yeah, I'll get the training Brownsville.
Give me 1 moment, please.
Just a clarification about, my point about the staffing was about the design.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm listening, Ms. Johnson. I will give them, 18. Is noted. All right, I am prepared to share on the screen. If you guys would like to, unless there's other comments. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna, oh, yes, I want to finalize their part first, that's okay. Okay. Let's see if I can do this from a technological perspective. You should be. There you go. Aha, okay, I am gonna make it a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Let me. See the line. Oh, that's what I was trying to do, let's go full screen. View.
Can you move closer? Because I won't be
Which
able to see.
Brownsville school did you change?
Absolutely, I'm gonna go over them, and I can also turn on this one as well. So sorry, that was actually on my to-do list this morning, let's turn that on. So,
Oh, we still streaming?
yes,
Oh, okay.
absolutely. But we will take a quick break after this to go to the restroom, and I underestimated our time, but I was really hopeful, you guys. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of go through. It'll take just a second for it to come up. Under profile, the edits that were noted for Brownsville, and maybe we'll just kind of go. We're gonna keep kind of in our segment. Under Brownsville, we had a change by Mr. Davis from a 13 to a 15, by Miss Jordan from an 18, excuse me, from a 20 to an 18, and Miss McIntyre from a 20 to an 18. We also have a change on FSU care. So you'll see that for Miss Johnson from a 9 to a 13. And then on the last line, the holistic plan of care, Miss Johnson from a 5 to an 8. Miss McIntyre from a 15 to a 10, but I skipped Miss Jordan. So sorry, Miss Jordan from a 14 to a 10.
I have.
Correct, that's what you just said.
Yeah, I accidentally skipped Miss Jordan. Yeah, so that's right, you have it correct.
I don't have a change for 15.
Yeah. Yes, Miss McIntyre went from a 15 to a 10. Okay.
So 3 10s.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all.
So on the screen, it should show correctly. Oh. I tried, it's not letting me, and so
Are you in Excel?
it's because I'm in our automated system, it's our online version. I mean, give me 1 second.
Can you freeze, Frank?
That's not what it is, I know what she's asking for, give me just 1 second. I'm in the web app, and you can't hide the top on the web app, but it will open momentarily. Here, so quick access, and then I can make. Single ribbon. Okay. Oh, I'll see the fun stuff. Did not start. Now it's free. So see what happens is when you open Microsoft, when you're live streaming and doing all the things, everything slows down. So I might have to stop doing it this way, but hopefully that. Oh, did you pull it out?
It didn't show, so I'm trying to figure it out.
So now you have to add the budget in.
Okay. Here we go. Is that a little bit bigger up there? Hopefully soon it will come up there. If not, we can try to fix it during the break. We're gonna go over to design. We only had 2 edits on design. Brownsville, Mr. Davis went from a 20 to a 24.
Yes.
And Miss McIntyre went for holistic plan of care, went from a 25 to a 23.
And Mr.
Oh, I don't have another one noted.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, he just did it.
Oh,
22 to 19.
Yes.
Why did it?
which one is that for?
For music business.
I think I'm going back to the one that was online. See, this is why give me just 1 second. Because it's on this one, it wasn't showing on yours. Oh, I see what happened. I just didn't highlight it in red. Just try that again. Okay, that's up. Open. All right, one more time. Open Excel.
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. Trying this. Geez. Now is it showing the right one? Yeah, so I'll make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And there's the 19 showing. Okay, under staffing plan, there were lots of edits, as you can see on the screen. So on row 1, Boys and Girls Club, Miss Johnson from a 16 to a 20, and Miss Jordan from a 22 to a 20. On the second row for Brownsville Seeds of Literacy, Miss Johnson from a 12 to an 18. On the third row for Camp Summer Garden, Miss Johnson from a 16 to an 18. On the sixth row, Florida State Alliance for Miss Johnson, 11 to a 15. For Miss McIntyre and Miss Jordan from 25 down to a 22. On the row for the Omega Lamplighters, Miss Johnson from a 16 to an 18.
Under staffing plan or quality assurance?
That For Bigman Minority Chamber of Commerce, Miss Johnson from an 11 to an 18. For Diamonds in the Rough, Mr. Edelman from a 22 to a 24. Miss Johnson from a 16 to an 18. And Miss Jones from a 14 to a 16. On the row for She Academy, Miss Johnson from an 11 to an 18. For Strikers Youth Art Project, Mr. Edelman from a 17 to a 14. Miss Johnson from a 6 to a 10. Miss McIntyre from a 19 to a 15. Excuse me, Miss Jordan from a 19 to a 15. and Miss McIntyre a 20 to a 17. All right. On the last row, holistic plan of care, an edit from Miss McIntyre from a 24 to a 22. Okay. For quality assurance, staying on the same screen. Brownsville Seeds of Literacy, Mr. Davis from an 11 to a 13. Mr. Edelman from a 13 to a 14. Miss Johnson from a 6 to a 10. Miss Jordan from a 12 to a 13. I also note a change for the Omega Lamplighters for Miss Johnson from a 9 to a 12. For the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Edelman, a 5 to an 11. And the last change on this one, Miss McIntyre, Holistic Plan of Care, a 12 to a 10. You will note that the new kind of averages are there. This will be published at the conclusion of today's meeting, so everybody has access to this score. And we'll also show the budget score. I'm going to temporarily, well, I can make any changes here. I do want to offer the opportunity for Miss Snyder, if any edits needed to be made, as this is an ongoing process, and I wanted to allow for that opportunity. The score, this isn't averaged across anything. This is issued by that internal team. Okay, there are no score changes. So what you see here is then added into it. Going to the next column, you'll see the subtotal, the new subtotals. There's some slight changes in the subtotal scores that you'll see here. And in just a moment, we're going to take a quick break, and I'll print these off and print the new ones off so that everybody has access to them and that they can see them. But ultimately, you'll kind of see them listed there with the lowest score of a 64 and I believe the highest score of a 98.17. And those are the subtotals. So then we have the bonus points that we discussed earlier. You had an eligibility of up to 7 points. I can open this up if anybody has questions for these, but these are issued on top of where you are. And then here are the, at the end, the total scores. I'm gonna give a quick little tweak of the total scores with the bonus points are in this column. So now our lowest score is a 70 and the highest score is a 102.17. I want to point out that that is out of a possible 120 points. So we've created a percentage based on that as if we were in school. And I'm just going to, because I like colors, I'm going to give this, just to give that some color. So these are the final scores that you'll see made available. No, absolutely. And what I'm going to do is I can leave this up and we can press pause and I can print off. See it. Okay.
So if we could finish.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
We are officially, that's what I was worried about. We are officially on a break. unmute and welcome you guys back. I am getting ready to hit the print button, but I wanted you to see it one more time. Maybe. And then I'm gonna go back to the live version because so I can close Excel so that our technology doesn't break down on us. But in essence, the version that you see. Oh, goodness. Please. Give me a sec. It will list the program, what the program type is, how many they're proposing to serve in the summer, how many they're proposing to serve in the school year, the enrichment component identified, the grades that they're going to serve, the percentage of their target population in the target zips, and then the actual dollar amount that they've requested is what you are going to get a copy of right now. But it's weird doing this like while I'm sharing my screen, so can
I
you
was
just,
gonna say, you could stop sharing.
and then I'll pull it up in the other way. Thank
You're
you.
giving us a digital copy.
I'm getting ready to print
Okay.
it, but I just wanted to explain what I was printing for everybody.
Okay.
Whenever I share it, oh, that was rough, not right. Okay. Grab those right now. Yeah, sorry, the printer decided, technology. We heard you say that. I know, I was like, come on. And I will pull this up. Almost towards on the last page. Probably more. All right, so, so again, the first column that you see is, well, the record ID, you can ignore that. The name of the organization, the program type, the number of kids proposed to serve during the summer, the number of kids proposed to serve during the school year, that enrichment component, the grades, the target zips, the actual money requested. And then on the very last page, which is the one I think that is relevant, is that total score, that total percent that you see. I also, when I'm going to pull this up on my shared screen, is I have two things to share with you. The first is a map. I think that that's one of the things that we wanted to discuss, and I'm just going to provide some framing. Forgot that I also need to share it here. Now, this map is what I hope it reveals to you, right, is the location of where they're all identified. If we hover over one of them, yeah, I would say, do you need to pull up? I'm sorry that this one's not working. If we want to pull up, we can. If you click on one of them, it's going to tell us who the vendor is. That program has everything that you have in front of you, including something that says current school enrollment or other OST programs unknown. This is one of the things that we had talked about previously, of kind of having a better idea of where all of these programs are located. For the purposes of zooming in, Miccosukee and Fort Braden are the two outliers. There are sites identified for the Boys and Girls Club, so they're kind of outliers. You can see for the rest of them, the 10 and the 16 of where the programs are being proposed are in what we call that kind of other part of Tallahassee. You'll recall in our training when we discussed where the need is and where CSC Leon's target zip codes and neighborhoods are. It's in that northwest and south side, and not so much in the northeast or the east side in terms of where those Title I schools are located. When we zoom in, you can get a better idea of where all the programs that are being proposed have sites, including, we click up here in this area. Stop. Zoom all the way in and you'll discover, I don't know why it's, that there's two programs being suggested at Springwood Elementary. One is the Omega Lamplighters. The other is the Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend. To one of the questions that was posed earlier about Smith Williams, if we zoom in right here in the Bond community, right around in the Bond community, you'll see that we have Bond Elementary School, that's Boys and Girls Club at the Big Bend. In addition, they have the Smith Williams Service Center right next door that serves currently about 30 kids, and Omega Lamplighters proposing services here as well over at Smith and Williams. So in this area, they have Bond 21st Century serving about 65 kids currently, and then Omega Lamplighter proposing an additional 30 over at Smith Williams. Smith Williams is currently serving about 30, is what they reported, and I also confirmed that with Bond Elementary. So I pull up this map to kind of show that we have information about that co-location of services and sites to let you know that this is available to us as we go through this process. The other tool that we have available at our fingertips, and I can just change tabs, I think. Oh, that's the mapping one. Is as we make decisions about what you might want to recommend, this tool that I have up here will actually help calculate each of the elements as we go through the process. I'll verbally talk through them for you since it's hard to visually see, but where we kind of want to start is this idea of how do we want to divvy up the recommendation? We currently have $4.2 million in asks. You have about a $2.7 billion budget to work with. And I want 2.7. So we cannot fund them all. We can play around, we can have a discussion about this. So I'm going to share a couple of suggestions that have happened from other folks. They will start with who are the highest and who are the lowest and say yes or no to them, and then land somewhere in the middle. They may say, hey, we want to take and just talk about summer only or just talk about school year only. There's some different options available to you, but we have the ability to kind of play with the numbers here and kind of see where we land. And so I want to open it up at this point to see if there's any kind of suggestions for a starting place. Ms. Jones. Oh, Ms. Johnson.
Oh, I'm sorry, just to be in the weeds again. So for the amount of funding, are you portioning it out for summertime? Like how much can we allocate for just summertime only program?
We did not, that direction was not provided by the council this year. In the past, they did say about 70-30. Last year is what they had recommended. And where they landed was around 60-40, 60 being for year round and 40 being for summer. That is not required. You could do 90-10. It's going to be based on what recommendations you want to make. But I do have them kind of on the page separate because we did say in the RFP that some funds would be held back to do summer only programs, some funds. So with that, Ms. Jones.
So can we say that this year-round program that's having a summer program also, can we say we're not going to support your summer program?
No, so that's a great
Thank you.
point. Mr. Edelman.
For suggestion to start, I think what makes sense to me is if we start with like the highest and the lowest and maybe eliminate, like we can, if we all agree, we're not gonna fund this one. And then we say we should definitely fund this, and then once we get to use the math and use what I think have left.
Sure.
Is that good?
Based on that, I'm going to sort year round and I'm gonna sort year round and summer separately, but then show the highest and the lowest for with each one of those. That's okay. Yes.
I offer just to,
Yeah.
just another thought.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that you gave me the updated number. If I do the math on this, I just did everything that's above 75%. And then saw what that total number was.
And then over?
Then it got to 2.9. 75% and above, that is 4.
Oh,
Right? That's 2.9.
So nobody has to do the math themselves. We can actually build a system and share that to you for yourself. So if you give me 1 second to catch up, you can keep talking, but
I did that just because I want to just,
can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
so I looked at the percentages,
Mhm.
everything that was 75% and above. I just added them all.
Okay.
Right, I did a rounded,
Mhm.
and it came to about 2.906.
Okay.
I think like that is.
I'm just saying to start,
Yeah,
just so we.
if we like put that into the math then and see like, well, are
Where
we
they are,
covering our
where they
areas, right?
Exactly, that's where I was going next.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Give me
Just add the
one. Okay, so I'm gonna replicate what you just said and then we can go put it in the map.
It's just very similar to what you did, I just didn't go to the bottom, because I didn't like those type of things, so.
May I make a question and a comment?
Mhm.
So my question is, we're comfortable with the conversation of there being some that we are not funding at all?
Yeah.
I don't,
Okay.
Oh, I don't.
Okay,
Go ahead.
understood.
I'm not. No, I'm saying, even though you did the 75% and above, there may be the 70% one. This one's 70%. It might be a better fit.
Right, so I think that that's,
Location.
right, so I think that that's what we're gonna have that debate.
Starting.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to facilitate that part. So on that recommendation, if you were to recommend 75 and above, as you can see here, the breakdown, when we plug it into this pretty little system, of what it covers, that would give us 2.9, which is exceeding our max. The split is about 75-25. 13 programs serving 920 kids during the summer and 730 during the school year. I can show it on the map as well, and I will try to make this.
Thank you.
bigger.
Please show it on the map.
I will. Oh, this is where I wish I had two screens, you guys. But that's kind of where it planned. Give me 1 second to go over to the map. I'm able to.
And we can like. We don't have to fund the full amount, is that true?
That is correct. So I'm trying, y'all jumped ahead. So, and I'm gonna show that to you in just a second, but the first proposal was, let's look at 75 and above. Just to kind of look at, to see what that might be. And
That's what I just want to get you.
Mr. Davis, would you read off to me, which one that would be?
Oh, that are above? Yes. I have, just gonna go in that alphabetical order. So can I do my record ID? You want me to?
No, the name, please.
Okay, so I have, Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend,
Okay,
Camp Summer Garden,
okay,
Children's Home Society,
okay,
Dynamic Explosion,
okay,
Institute for Music,
yep,
Kingdom Life,
yep,
Omega Lamplighters,
okay,
Big Bend Minority,
okay,
Citizens for Sustainable,
okay,
Diamonds in the Rough,
okay,
FSU Center for Academic Retention,
okay,
She,
okay,
Tallahassee Nights.
okay. So based on that, I'm gonna do. No. So based on that recommendation, these are your locations. So we still have the outliers of Miccosukee and Fort Braden, but I'm gonna zoom in. And if you want to know a particular one, like who it is, let me know.
So, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, these are, okay, if there's a red dot, that's a single program. If there's a 2 dot, that's 2 programs in that area. If there's a 7, for example, down here.
And 7 programs?
It's 7 different programs. There's this one, so this one over here is Riley Elementary. This is FAMU DRS. These, I went too far in. These 2 over here is Bond Elementary and Smith Williams. These 2 right here, I believe, is Tallahassee Nights Live and Institute for Music Business. So you can kind of see where they're located. That's the idea of kind of seeing that service saturation. Again, everything is primarily mapping. If we use Monroe, this is Monroe that I'm kind of marking there, right? And then this is that Appalachia Parkway, and that tends to be the quadrant that we're that we're looking at in terms of where service is really Monroe is truly kind of the dividing sector.
Just a quick question. On the outlier for programs.
Sure. So the big far outliers, Miccosukee is a program by the Boys and Girls Club, Fort Braden, a program by the Boys and Girls Club.
That's one of the, those are 2.
Two separate sites.
Locations.
10.
10.
They have 10 sites. Or maybe it was 8. I think it's 10. It's
Did
10.
they not, I thought, maybe I misunderstood. I thought they reduced.
So they did for their summer.
Okay.
They cut their summer program significantly. I believe it was from 460 down to 280. And that's because they have existing funding to cover service delivery. at a handful of those sites, that expires, I believe in their budget, they said September 30th. Okay. These, I'm not gonna call them outliers, but, this particular program up by I-10 outer area, this is She Academy. So still pulling from, and you can look up on the map, I think it's still a high percentage coming targeted from from the targeted zip codes for She Academy, but it is located up in one of the more outer areas, and it's not located in one of our targeted zip codes, but they are at an 80% recruitment from the targeted zips. Then for the other slightly outer area, it is Camp Summer Garden, which is located in 32301 at Element 3 Church. They are recruiting 80% as well from the targeted zips. So while they're not located there, they are in a neighborhood. It's very sensitive. So sorry. Unfortunately, the other one that we layered on the other things that we wanted to do required a fuller subscription, and that whole nonprofit mindset, but we can certainly show that. It didn't work out as great as we had hoped, but we have that information available if anybody wants to see it. Up here, so these two up in this area, that's Creative Mind, and then right around the corner is Pinewood. Oh, thank you. Yes, it's the location of the Oxford School. So,
Wait, sorry, you said that's where Creative or Big Bend Big Bend is next to where?
right here. So this is I-10.
No, next to what other?
This program here is Pinewood, which is a big boys and girls club in the Macon community in the Pinewood. Thank you, the community center.
I'm gonna work on Miccosukee going.
You want to go look at the Miccosukee?
No, I know where it is.
And then this slightly outer area up here, again, Settler Springs, this is Springwood, where there's 2 proposals for service delivery.
And that was Big Ben and Boys and Girls Club.
Out at Springwood,
Uh-huh.
no ma'am, that is Boys and Girls Club and Omega Lamplighters.
Omega Lamplighters. Okay.
So when I'm trying to put this on there. So we want to ensure that there are enough camps within our target area, right? But parents can decide this, like if I live on the south side, I want to take my kid to Creative because it's closer to my workplace. Sure. When they register, they're going to ensure that these students are like, how does that work?
Isn't that like that's like part of their recruitment strategy is how many?
It is
Part of the strategy and the data that.
So they'll, but,
So they would collect the home address.
and we wouldn't, so, okay, I'm just trying to think.
But the parent has the ability to determine whether they want to have their child attend a camp closer to home, depending on who's going to be pickup, or closer to work, if they're gonna be the one.
And if they offer transportation, then.
If they offer transportation, it may not matter.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm trying to like, I think about this, okay.
So if I may, as you're thinking about what your recommendation is, there are a few things that have to be kept in mind. And you guys are the first group that have this many things to think about as you make a recommendation. The percentage score, thinking about how you all scored them. The saturation, how many programs are in a specific area as compared to the need in that area as presented by the programs that I told you. How much it costs. And if you have the confidence that they can serve that many students, because you have the ability to say that while the proposal was for 100 kids, we have 3 programs in that area. This is a hypothetical. And so what we're willing to do is say fund half. So we will recommend funding for 50 kids. So there are several different things that you will keep in mind. The reason why I say that's important is because as the council looks at the recommendation, you will communicate to them, or rather, you all will
Yes.
communicate to them how you came upon these recommendations, and that it wasn't just a score of 90, but rather a score, a saturation, a confidence. So it's all of those things put together.
So I want to illustrate that, and I'm gonna, for this particular one, they scored a 78.19 is their percentage. If we selected, for example, that we want to consider them, but we want to fund them kind of partially, right? It'll tell us, all right, well, what partially? Well, we're gonna use the example that Sika provided at 50%. It'll then generate, okay, that means that they would serve, instead of 280 kids during the summer, it's 140. Instead of 460 kids during the school year, it's 230. And it still provides that level of detail. So we can kind of go through this exercise as you're thinking through, and maybe the kind of top place to start. And I know we started at 75, and I think that we saw that we exhausted our budget. So maybe we start at the top and go down, and to see where that lands.
Can we let's start at everything that we scored at, like, what was the highest, from 85 to 80?
Well, what about like ones that are kind of like, at least to me, obvious? Like, I think
Yeah.
that we want to fund She Academy, like it's $20,000. We all.
Or do we
like,
want to start with summer?
We rated it highly.
So may I suggest, because we also have an appeals process that comes into this, depending on what your recommendation is. If you are looking, so my suggestion, you don't have to take this, is to look at your high scores first. So determine what your, if in your mind, this is a minimum score that I am confident that they're gonna do what they said they're gonna do, start there and go up. Because now you've set the bar for what the high score is, and then maybe you look at that. After you do that and plot it, then you fill in from there. That's just a suggestion.
Well, I want to add something just for I want to caution you from naming individual programs and picking them, because how do you justify it? So think about your justification of, if all things being equal, I want to start here.
We can't, and we can't say we want to fund this program.
I want to caution you from saying, I want to fund program A and therefore put them on the yes list. Think instead, I want to fund programs that scored 85% and above, and that covers it, because you're looking for the justification to be universal, not individual. Now, when we get into the finer points of it, you may say, this program scored very, very well. And we have a gap in services here. And then you can fill in. So we're suggesting starting with the universal rules that's going to govern the process.
So this is not, I'm sorry, because I need to reiterate this. This is not similar to another funding process where it is a consensus. So in other words, we're not leaving this room until everybody is at consensus. And in that process, you can pick and choose programs. In this RFP process, it's not this program, this program, this program, and this program, because you would have to come back and justify why you picked this program over this program. Rather, the scoring helps to guide that justification. So if you pick a basement and higher, then, as Holly said, what I've done is taking care of what we believe and we have collectively said are our higher scoring programs, and we plot them. Then you go with your rationale for how you fill in the gaps. And that could be the next highest scoring programs. It could be the next highest scoring programs that fill this gap, because now you have that justification. Now we're going to 79 and 79 fills this gap. You do not want to get in a situation where you're having to give about 15 different reasons why you picked a program. And so that is why you don't want to say, I want program A, B, C, D, and E. Does that make sense? The way that I present, okay.
So based on that, I want to go back to Ms. Johnson. Oh, Ms. Johnson had an idea, is that?
Yeah.
No, my idea was to start with everything that we scored at minimum 80. And for the reason that, I mean, it is a procurement, we are looking at RFP, so we're going based on what they offered. So I think I've counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and that's 7 programs. And so I think we can start there just to get us talking.
Sure.
And then move
Sure.
on.
By doing that, and I love I love kind of where we're starting, going to 80% or above, that takes us to a $1.2 million investment. 7 programs, 390 kids during the summer, 106 during the school year. That's where that takes them to. Yeah, the breakdown.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What if?
Yeah, so it's total 7 programs. Summer only is 4, year round is 3.
What if we did that, but then held off on the really large one? Because maybe we want to do that last so that we have the ability to say, well, let's fund them this amount.
Okay, so based on that, I wanna piggyback on that. So I'm gonna say a really large one. Do you consider
Well,
like
yeah, let's
150?
come up with a threshold, then like, what do we consider the market site?
And
Yeah.
I am really concerned about location and saturation.
So I think that's,
So, I mean, once.
we're
we
gonna,
get
we're gonna
that
hold
far-
that in, perfect. So based on what you just suggested, we've done the 80% and above. And I'm looking here, there's one here that is a 150. If we say, I'm just gonna illustrate this based on what you're suggesting, that's considered a large one. You hit partial, you say how much you wanna maybe fund it at 80%. I'm just throwing a number in there. If that's what you said you wanted to do, again, just an example, takes us to, still we're at 1.1 million, 7 programs, but that's how flexible this can be
Yeah,
as we're figuring out the money.
Like, and like, it's just ideas.
Yeah, no, and that's what we're here for. And as you can tell, I'm looking at numbers, not the programs at this juncture. So what you see on the screen is
Like, for the purposes of like filling it in, if we hold those large budgets at 0, but listed as partial, just so that once we fund like those programs above that certain score, then we say, okay, we have this much left. Now we can fund this to make sure that we have that saturation, correct?
Yes. Out of these first 7, the desire, they're the highest for
Thirsty.
Sorry, they're the highest request at about 300,000. And then next after that,
The
numbers.
dollar amount,
what was
The
the?
Boys and Girls Club is the biggest.
Boys and Girls Club is the
they have
largest,
the largest.
but they're not at
They're not
80% or above.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
That's not included.
But in this first 7, desire is the highest at. Thirsty, sorry.
Diamonds in the rough. Okay,
One provider is at 300,000.
I did put the record ID on there if you would prefer to refer to them as record IDs, that's fine.
And
Can
then
you-
2 are similar.
Can you print another one with the zip codes?
I just have the target zip codes.
Yeah, the target zip code.
Yeah, it's listed.
It's in this one.
Which one?
On the-
It's in a column and it tells you.
On the second
percent.
page, that's the percent of who they're
Oh,
going to
you put the
refer.
percent. Okay, I can do percent.
Yeah, and I
Then,
can tell you what the zip codes are.
but I can't do the saturation from that.
Well, connect the maps.
Connect the maps right here.
Yeah, I can look at, I have to go ahead and look at them. Okay, no problem.
And again, the map shows you where the base location is for the
Oh,
program.
not where the programs are being held.
No, it shows you where they're being held,
Right.
but understand it's being held in that zip code, but they will be targeting other zip codes. So I'm not sure what you're
I'm
asking.
looking at travel, and I mean, we can make the assumption that the parents are gonna say, well, I don't wanna take my child to this particular location, I wanna go over here. But for my understanding, for most parents, they're gonna go what's closer to their home.
And we are trying to,
That's what I'm saying, okay.
So I think what we need from what you're saying, let's define what we mean by saturation.
Okay, please.
What we mean is ensuring that there are camps available in the target zip code.
Available.
The base of, say again? I'm sorry, I'm saying just summer.
Okay.
We want to ensure that the out-of-school time programs
Mm-hmm.
are available in those target zip codes.
Okay, thank you.
So what we don't want is funding all the programs in one zip code
Mm-hmm.
versus getting programs in as many of those zip codes as we can, given the parameters of their score, the number of kids that they serve, and what did I say? No, their score and the number of kids that they serve, because I already said location.
I guess I have a bias for summer.
And I can tweak this map to only show summer. That's okay. So we have the ability to, for example, if you just want to look at for the summer to start, when I pull.
Are those the bottom 6, 7?
So this is what it looks like. Again, these are 75% or higher on the map currently, and this is for just the summer locations only. Not just summer only programs, but that would provide services for the summer.
Summer.
Okay, so that's what the map, goodness, it's sensitive. So these are the primary locations. Again, the map right now is showing 75. I can take off the 75 to 80, but right now it's showing 70.
Our outliers, Fort Brayton and
Mississippi.
Pickasicki are not summer.
No, they're there.
Also, listen, every
Okay.
program here is serving in the summer, every program.
Every program.
Not every program is doing year
Okay,
round.
I see it now.
The one exception is the Smith Williams location because they're doing their summer program at Springwood and their school year program
At
at
Smith Williams.
Can I offer just a
Okay,
Okay, lots of things to consider, lots of things to consider.
go ahead, thank you.
So in agreement, I just want to circle back around.
Okay.
At 75%, we're 200K over into cuts or delineate. We just go to the next data point, which is saturation. If we consider saturation, we are going to see that we have overlap with Boys and Girls Club being in multiple places. We can reduce that and our number is going to drop naturally.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to that. I'm just trying to keep with you as you're talking.
Yep, I just want to complete my thought.
Yep.
So at 75, we got 2.9. We're up, we're over, but we have not considered saturation.
Mhm.
Big Ben is at Boys and Girls Club. There's some overlap that we need to talk about. If we talk about saturation next, we're gonna have to make some decisions. Because I think some of those are highly saturated.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm also going to just highlight based on Mr. Edelman's point, the larger programs.
Sure.
Because the map's not going to show you that piece of it.
Sure.
So one of the things to consider, and I think you would consider large, 280, 120, 150.
And that was where I was going next, right?
Okay.
We start by just reducing it and we will easily, I believe, get to under 2.7. Justification for 70, justification for 75% or 80%. whatever we said. We do 80%, we have to add others. We're just gonna keep going lower and lower
Mhm.
on the percentage. Because we've done the work that got us to the percentage. Set the threshold, whatever the number may be. I chose 75 because it was over. Then we just do the next level of cutting or association, how we're gonna think through it. And the logic is, I believe where Ms. Jones was, where Mr. Edelman was. How are we saturated? What programs are larger? And that can be done by the numbers, right? We tweak the numbers very quickly. We are under 200, 2.7. I've already done it for me,
Yeah,
but
I agree.
but then I think we're closer. And then to the other point that was made, confidence, we've already done that.
Mhm.
Talked through that. The point that I think Ms. Green was making that I will be very clear about, or at least for me, I'm already clear about, is for those who may appeal. I'm looking at who is on the bubble, NCAA tournament, where appeals may be made.
Mhm.
Brownsville is on the bubble,
Mhm.
right? What was the other one? Florida State Alliance of YMCA's. And I'm not trying to do programs, but I just want to think through. If 75 is the number, then there's a rationale to the people who do not hit the cut line what it is. And I just want to rationalize more on the number. 80 is easy rationalization. Because like there's only so many programs.
May I also offer
Yes,
one
yes.
caveat? I hate drawing a line in the sand. I like to look for natural breaks. So I'm gonna offer in my many years of doing this is where are the natural breaks in the scores? And what's the difference between an 80.69 and 9.93? If we use the rule of thumb, okay, that 79 might get rounded up, but then we're talking, what's the difference between the 79.93 and the 78.19? Is that a whole percentage point different? If you look more at the natural breaks, there is a natural break between 76 and 73. They're right there,
That's
there's
what
a
I-
natural break.
that's why I said 75.
Yeah,
That's why I said 75.
and that makes sense. So,
That's-
No, what you said is, it's gonna work.
And then,
And it takes into
It's a-
consideration Mr. Edelman's comment.
right, I think it
Which
takes
is,
everybody.
once you do that.
Yeah.
Then you go in, look at saturation and maybe take some of your larger programs.
With that
so,
cost.
yeah,
I think we're gonna like.
I wanna show you the map, because I've done what you did, as you were talking, I did the map.
So. But he's still very concerned.
Yeah, no, that's.
Yes.
Okay, so looking at the suggestion 75 and kind of starting them, I took the large programs based on your recommendation down to 0, and then I added back when I did consistently for those that were considered large programs. So that was the ones that were over 100. At 80%, the math takes you to 2.6 million. We're under our threshold. Funding 7 year-round programs, 6 summer only programs. That gives us 13 programs during the summer, serving 810 kids during the summer, 614 for the school year, about a 75-25% split. You can look here, and I'll show you the map in just a second, because then we can talk saturation. We have some. Most of the programs here are focused on 3rd through 8th grade, with a handful that there's lots of K through 8, some focused solely on those early years, and some based more on that kind of what we call elementary and middle school. And then you see the breakdown of enrichment types. So you still have STEM, literacy, arts, and culture, health, and wellness are in here. When we map this, right, go back over to the map. This is still the map because right now we haven't cut any sites. All we have cut is the number of services. So we still have, I think this would be if I do. All right now. So you still have Miccosukee is way out there and Fort Braden is way out there. So right now that includes it. We could think for those that we're recommending partial, do you want to dive into specifics? Because I think that is Boys and Girls Club, Jersey, and Kingdom Life are the 3 that we said partial. Kingdom Life is 1 site, Jersey is 1 site, Boys and Girls Club is 10. So I just wanted to. How do we feel?
We say Boys and Girls Club out because they have the most sites, and I think there will be a lot of overlap just where their clubs are. And look at our other,
What do you mean?
no, like as we discussed, because
Caution.
the map.
Yeah, sure that, but let me just caution you that overlap is probably not the best term, because you want to, you are looking at, will there be enough subscription for the program? And so you could have a site that has, this is outlier, 5 programs, but they need 5 programs. Yeah. So you want to be careful about saying overlap necessarily, but think about the presentations. Think about how many times you've heard a certain site. And if there is a need there, I'm not going to say the location, but we know that there is a location that said, as many as you put here, we can sell them out here. So just be careful about the overlap.
And I'll have to, I just want to say that there are some locations that, like you said, need more services. because of the number of people that need the service in that particular location. In other locations, they have enough service already. So I'm just saying,
Do we want
like the overlap.
Yeah, and I don't know.
See,
Sure.
you,
So we have done that
I would love
research.
you to tell.
Yeah,
I'd
so
love somebody to tell me like, oh, there's a big need right here.
I was gonna offer a couple things that we've put in that part of the discussion. Number one is that we've called all of the locations where there is overlap to determine what are the other services that are being provided there, what is your current enrollment, and do you have a wait list? We have that information if you want to ask about some of the specifics. We also know in general, especially in neighborhoods of need or at-promise neighborhoods, that for every one slot, there are 3 kids waiting to get in. We know that. So the goal is to expand access, not just to availability of just programs, but high quality programs. So we do know that. One of the things that I was trying to do it at Springwood as just the example, because I think that it's a good example. If I click on it, there we go. Omega Lamplighters is proposing a summer program there at Springwood. They offer extended day EDEP. The school itself offers extended day during the school year. They also have a 21st century program operating there that says it enrolls about 60 kids during the school year. During the summer, I believe it's 40. So during the summer, their available slots for summer care goes down. Omega Lamplighters comes in according to the research that we have done based on what they submitted and also calling the schools directly and the school district. Boys and Girls Club is currently operating is operating a club at Springwood in partnership with the 21st Century program. So again, we're thinking extended day, Omega Lamplighters, and Boys and Girls Club through their 21st Century program.
So you're saying that there is a need for that?
So currently, when you call Springwood, there is they are oversubscribed to the programs that they offer, meaning that they are on a wait list. So
Okay.
yes, there is a need at that school.
I don't think this is, for me, it's not clear. So I'm not sure how you want us to approach this, given all the information, because I'm a visual person, so I need to see it, like not just on the map. So in essence of time, do you have a recommendation for how we can start so that we can figure out where a direction to go?
Believe I have an
Okay.
idea based off of what you were sharing, which is what we currently have, some being fully funded and then a few being partially funded. I think if that's what we're comfortable with, we're within the budget allocation. Therefore, we can move forward to see if there's space for anything else. So if this is where we wanted to start, I think it's within alignment with what we've all been sharing.
I think right now, one thing we could potentially look at, I believe, is that the Tallahassee Knights and Institute for Music are in the same area and both focused on that same thing. So we could think about not funding one of those and then funding a more general camp in maybe a different location if there's one that's a little bit lower that is in a different spot.
You're suggesting not funding either of them?
No, funding one of them based on whichever higher and then.
I missed it.
So that would be based off of what you're talking about, is that would be based off of the enrichment category.
Yeah.
So if you feel like there's a, again, I think is that saturation of.
So
I
coming
think that
down
would be
here,
easily defendable if we said there's overlap in content and relation and then decided to try to improve saturation across a different location.
so and I think what you're talking about in this area, the 2 programs, it's Institute for Music Business. And I think that they're proposing to serve during the summer, 25, right, and then 29 during the school year. So they're right there at that location, and they're exclusive to 6 through 8. And they are a year-round program. TNL is located nearby, does offer somewhat similar program, but they start much younger and are a summer only program and are proposing to serve 35. So in total, let's just look at the summer, we're only talking 55 kids for that area.
And they do go younger, so there's.
What is the
I
grade
know.
levels for that one?
T&L,
No.
6 to 8.
6-8.
No, but what's the
And-
other one?
Institute for Music Business is 6 through 8, so they're a middle school program only. Tallahassee Nights Live, they start around 3rd grade,
3rd through
8th. And I believe
35.
35, yes. And so total, 3rd through 8th, there's 55 kids for that area, located doing that.
I'm probably gonna get killed for saying this, but I'm gonna say it.
Okay, Carol.
Don't get killed.
No, don't,
Or frame it in
Don't
a
do it.
universality way.
don't do it. But I just want to add to, like I said, saturation, location is important. And you said it nicely, 55 kids in that area. If we don't serve one of them, we're gonna lose a group of kids looking for another location.
Yeah, and I don't think it's really, my personal take is I don't think it's necessary to cut both of those programs. I think they both can exist if that's our choice. And I think there's room here. I don't think we're far away from what we need to do. I think we just need to go through.
Can we look at the map and is there a problem with the map?
I don't understand the map,
But-
so, and I can't make a decision
Who's
from
on
the
the
map.
On the,
Like,
everyone
I need to see it. I'm,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, sure. I meant like where you see the spots.
why are we talking about cutting one of the programs?
Hey, can I just?
Can you help me there?
Can I just?
Help me.
Offer.
Because we're 2.9, 2.6, or
So I
whatever.
just wanna recap.
You better go ahead.
I'm just going back where I started, because I thought about this before I got here.
Okay.
Right? And I chose 75% based on the other numbers. Because the work that I do, you kind of take in a group, and it's like what we call eigenvalue, it's clustered,
Mhm.
right? And the next break was 72, 70, whatever. So 75 is a natural. Then I did the math on the numbers, just the cost, and it was over.
Yeah,
So I said, all right, but it's not that far over. What's the next modality that we will use to reduce costs?
right,
And that modality was, like, where are they?
yeah,
How many students are we serving? It's what we're doing now.
Right.
And for me, how do I see that? Well, where are they on the map?
Mhm.
What we have presented to us are these little dots on this
Mhm.
map that
right,
show where programs are.
right,
If it is red, it's just one. If it's some other color, there are multiple.
right,
There are multiple there,
exactly.
right? And if there are multiple there, we can zoom in and say, how many students are here?
true.
We have a number, how many programs are there?
True.
Now, where I want to go to next, which is what Ms. McPhail has already done, was, all right, we're over. Mr. Edelman said, put everything to 0 and then pick a number that gets us kind of there. We're just gonna reduce how many people you serve.
Or
Right.
sites.
Or
sites.
Or sites. We haven't done sites yet, but what we did, I believe what we did already was reduce how many we serve. So if you say you want to do 100, we reduced it to 80,
Mhm.
right? I think you said 80%,
I did.
right? So instead of the full number that you asked for 100 students, we now said there are 80 students.
Yeah.
Which got us to 2.6.
Mhm.
We don't have to cut anything. And I'm saying, what we do now is, there's still, if we're gonna spend it all,
Yeah.
let's get to 2.7, we can go up. And we don't, and I understood.
I mean, I'm fair, you don't.
Look, based on your logic, you can get, everybody can do this. So
Right,
it's just.
and that's all I
working
did. The way I did it was how
Yeah,
do we maximize
Yeah.
this?
you can,
How do we get the most in and then look at it and go, all right, am I over?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're a little over.
Is the map clear to you both now?
I was already there.
Okay, is it
I mean,
clear?
It's something
yes and
that
no,
you know.
but that's,
Where are you confused?
I'm not I'm looking at it from a budget and programmatic
Mhm.
standpoint, and I'm looking at this, I'm looking at their scores, and I'm looking at their asks. And so based on, if we just stop at the 75, if this is adjusted, I think we're in a sweet spot. If you adjust it more, you probably can add a few more. But I think it's just getting that level, and I'm confident that the saturation and need will be met. But I just want to get at how we're gonna get to this, because I don't like,
So
some of these
this-
asks are kind of high, so I know if you say, can you adjust this budget here, we'll get to the number we need.
I think we're already.
Yeah.
We're already there.
So this is what I was going to say. Out of school time is one of the most needed programming in the country, for that matter. Definitely in Florida. We require all programs that get funded by us to participate in our expo. We have them hold spots so that the expo will have some spots available when the people come. I don't know that we've had a problem with filling spots. So I will say it that way.
Appreciate that. You may have.
I am more concerned from, and not concerned, concern isn't even the right way to say this. What I will say is last year, the ones that are in current funding, we funded, I think, at 85% or higher, was how the recommendation came out. It is important for you to have a modality, a method to why you're doing it. And I think that just hearing through the method, so first, 75 or higher. Second, because you are over, let's look at the programs that are funding large amounts of kids. Let's reduce their funding a little bit so that we can get under that threshold. That is a sound, now you can change it any way you want to, but that is a sound way of thinking about it. Regarding the map with the two, so the blues means that there's more than one program in that area. It could be at the site, it could be within a certain mile. We just don't have, we're in kind of this nonprofit space and we just aren't ready to pay for.
No, it's.
Oh, no, we can do that.
And I apologize, it is my brain, it is how I think and how I work. It's nothing wrong with your process. For me, I just look at it all. So this is one part, but then I'm looking at like, I can make this work. Like I'm looking at, oh yeah, we can make this work. But so that's my take. And I apologize if I'm
No, you don't have to.
like belaboring the part.
So I just wanted to say, I heard while you were talking, I heard add back. And instead of adding back programs, adding back saturation, and I went up to 85 and we're at 2.67.
86.
I mean,
88.
right? I mean, we
But
can just keep playing,
What is the actual budget?
2.7.
I'm now at 2.6, at 86% of the large programs, I'm at 2.693. We are at that point, less than $7,000 away without going over. What is it? The Price is Right rules, like you can't go over. I'm happy to, I think if I go at 87, we're gonna go over, just a bit.
Yeah.
Now I'm all like, I wanna just create a little formula over on the side, but yeah, we've gone over at that point.
That's 87%.
So 85.
So at 86%,
That's for the large
For the-
programs. So for the
correct.
large programs,
Right.
instead of them getting 100%, they would get 87,
86%.
86% of their ask.
And then the ask, and I can make this a little bit bigger.
Go back down to 86.
And again, by large, we define that as
Yeah.
300,000.
Correct.
I did it by
It's the
student.
number of kids.
Oh, number of kids,
Not the
okay.
budget, the number of
Correct. So if
kids.
they were proposing to serve more than 100 children, we
Okay.
consider them a large program and cutting, and in essence, issuing 86% of their request instead of 100%, or and vice versa, a 14% cut.
What if we thought about,
Come on.
what if we thought about not reducing all the ones over that, or maybe just changing the threshold? What is the justification for giving Dursey 88% maybe? But if we think about giving the Boys and Girls Club 80%, that equates to maybe them removing 2 sites that maybe they can determine are not in use.
So I hear where you're going when it comes to sites, and I think that that's the question. On average, when we looked at sites at Boys and Girls Club, they were somewhere between 30 to 60. Most of them, I believe, were 30 to 40 students that you would be removing. And so if you wanted to say, hey, we are focused on these target zip codes. If they're not in the target zip code, we're not going to fund that particular site. That's an option. Or you could just say, this is what we're willing to give you. Like there are, all of those are open to you. But I think we're at the money side at 86%, right? I think we feel good. And now we can say amongst those, the only 3 programs that were reduced are Kingdom Life, Jersey, and Boys and Girls Club, and Boys and Girls Club is the only one with multiple sites. So if you wanted to issue that guidance.
They were 75%. Those were our 75%ers. No, we did 75%, and then number 2 was to reduce.
Yes,
Okay, that was second one.
that is correct. So
So that, I mean, I could tell somebody, okay, this is how it worked. I couldn't tell them, okay, since you were the highest one, we reduce you more or something like that.
Well, that's not necessarily the framework we're coming from.
No, I'm just saying.
And let me also say with your larger programs and since Boys and Girls Club is our only program that had multiple sites. If you propose the reduction, and from our standpoint, you want to do it fairly. So you don't want to do 180%, 150%, whatever.
Yeah.
So if you're going to reduce anything over 100 by a percentage, then you do that. Then in the case of that particular program, they could say the way that we're going to do this is by not having a program at this site. And that's how we reduce the number of kids. So I would caution dictating a site when you've already reduced the funding in a rational, logical manner.
what I want to build on that, for the one that has multiple sites, I believe they went from 280 down to 240 in terms of their numbers. If we were at the 85, at the 238, that would be a natural site if that's how they chose to break it up. At 86, I'm thinking about our staff to student ratios. And that's the numbers that I was kind of playing around with, like how many staff would they have to support and all of that. It's still about a 40 student cut at the 86%. A 40 student cut is equal to 1 site on average. So they may choose to do it based on what Ms. Green has said. Us dictating that is maybe not the smartest move. Us just saying we're funding 75%.
I wasn't trying to say that we should tell them that. I'm just saying if we think about the percent we give them in an increment that makes sense for them to have that opportunity to cut aside.
Yeah, and that it does.
And that's
then
what
it
you're
fits.
saying it does.
And they may not choose to cut that site. They may choose to just have less students at another site and still keep that site, right?
Taking that part.
Yeah, we don't know what they're gonna do once they get it. They may make some decisions.
Okay, so then based on that, I'm trying to make my thing go in. Our so we're still very diverse in our locations. We still have the highest concentration in our targeted zip codes in terms of physical location as well as where they're recruiting from.
And we're at 80% or what? 86%?
Oh, so every program that's scored 75% or higher, and then for those 3 programs in that bucket that were a large program as defined as serving more than 100 kids, they received 86% of their ask.
Okay, that need to write that down.
That takes us to a total budget of 2.693833.20, funding 13 programs and offering 843 summer slots, 649 school year spots.
And you won't have to write this up. Bill.
No, I
write it up.
put it in my mind.
It's 7 and 6, right?
It is 7 year round, 6 summer only. It's a 74-26% split, which is
And the summer programs will be funded at the full.
all,
I'm talking about summer only.
No, all of them are summer. The programs that are
I'm sorry,
that are under 100
just a minute.
are funded at their full ask.
Let me restate it. OTS.
OST.
OST. How many OST?
They're all OST. No.
I mean, when you divided it on here,
7 programs are year round.
74%.
Are summer.
74% of budget goes to year round.
Right. 74%.
But if a program.
it's year round.
And then there's summer as well.
There's summer as well.
So the actual amount of money going towards summer camp and the amount of money going towards after school isn't that, it's not that. Because they're gonna use some of that money for the summer camp, because they're both.
I only showed the total, but I do have, we could start playing with that. If you wanna know how much money is going into.
So I just saying like that 74, 86.
Includes summer.
Includes summer.
The 74 includes summer too.
Yes,
Yeah.
because the out of school time programs, all 13 programs do summer. Only 7 of the programs will operate year round. So when you split the percentage, 26% of the budget is for those summer only programs. The other 74 is for the 7 programs that are giving you summer plus hours.
I like that rate. I like that, 74 and 26.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is about where we were last year.
Yeah.
For this current, the
I think that's,
All right, do we wanna do any checks? So I'm gonna repeat it back, make sure everyone feels good about it. The recommendation is to fund all programs that scored a 75% or higher after a very rigorous evaluation process. That 75% was selected as it's a natural break in the scores that doesn't take us kind of over the budget. And that for those large programs in the funded buckets that find that serving more than 100 children, we systematically issued an 86% of their funding request instead of the full 100%. This gives us 13 programs, 7 year round, 6 summer only, so that means 13 summer programs and 7 after school year programs. Serve 843 children during the summer, 649 during the school year. We're serving K through 8 across programs, some concentration in the younger years and some concentration in those middle schools. And we're covering all of the available enrichment components with a heavy focus on STEM and literacy and arts and culture across the programs. From a mapping perspective, the majority of programs are physically located in our target zip codes. And on average, it's about 75% of all available slots will be dedicated to our target zip code. We feel good about that? Yes. We have one last order of business before we leave, and that is we need discuss, because it's a recommendation of award by consensus. So I saw everyone's head nodding, so I just want to get a verbal approval to agree with this. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Edelman? Ms. Johnson? Yes. Ms. Jones?
Yeah.
Ms. Jordan?
yes.
Ms. McIntyre? Okay, now we need someone who feels comfortable and is available in 2 weeks' time on March 5th between the hours of 4 and 6 to come and present to the council the recommendation and justification and be available to answer questions. By selecting a spokesperson, it does not limit everyone from attending should they want. But in terms of the selection and like who sends the memo that I'll work with you and you'll work with staff on the presentation and all of that. Is there a nomination or a volunteer
I feel most confident in Mr. Davis and Mr. Edelman and their ability to clearly articulate what it is that we do. I think we could all explain it. I don't think it'd be articulate from us, unfortunately. But I think either one of you could put it into layman's terms for us. If you feel comfortable doing it.
Who is available?
I was saying, like, check who's available.
March sixth from 4 to 6 p.m.
March 10th.
March 5th from 4 to
It's
6 p.m.
Wednesday. And again, everybody is invited.
Nobody wants to do it.
I can't come.
It's not
already-
something-
I'm
it's not
already
something
just in one of my things.
And more of it took us so long to get to this agreement that I want it to be restated in the most clear way possible.
Well, I have no doubts in anybody's ability, so like, is there something you want?
So everybody available? It is your methodology.
You
My,
made
my
it
challenge,
up.
my challenge is my schedule. I'm just being honest with you. 4 to 6. I know what I have here.
So like, and you have, I think, you're 6 minutes over, are you not?
I'll let them know. I'm gonna be a little turkey.
Would there be like a commitment outside of 4 to 6?
No.
If nobody really wants to do it, I can.
We'll be there to support you.
I can go to this.
I will be there to support you. Because I want it to be said in a way that everyone
I have
understands.
one
And I think
stage fright and I will get up there and it's.
Yeah, we are going to ask our,
You could make it.
hold on one second, we're going to ask our general counsel if the representative could appear via Zoom, because we will have all the information. The quorum situation deals with the council, not with the presenter. So would being able to appear via Zoom make it easier?
Absolutely.
Because literally you could be on Zoom and we could text you when it's time to come in versus.
So that will work if
I
Mr. Edelman.
I think we can do that, yeah. So we could do that. And literally you would just log in
And then,
and
I mean,
text you when it was time.
And to be fair, if you all, like, I could extend the same invitation,
For
like that
everyone.
if everybody didn't want to be here in person, if you, hey, we're getting ready to click on the link, come on in, and then we'll turn the floor over to Mr. Davis.
That'd be nice.
I think that that's
So can I do
allowable.
this? Can I say yes? And just let me confirm with work, and if not, I have a stead.
That's like, I moved.
But I would know soon,
What are your reservations for doing it here?
I don't have any, but I feel like the way that we came about deciding was a little strange. First, you like nominated 2 people and then you guys kind of like almost selected him.
No, you guys,
Well,
no,
in a way.
I nominated
I
2
was
people and I
listening
gave my
to them.
justification.
You guys decide who you
Yeah,
want the
just one of them.
spokesperson to be.
Yeah, so like,
Would you like a vote?
You can do a formal nomination.
Yeah,
if
we
you
can
would
do a vote
like.
if you'd like.
This doesn't have to be by consensus, but we don't want to voluntold
Yeah,
someone.
we're not
Yeah,
really telling.
I only said who I felt most confident in doing it. That's all I said. I'm not like nominating anyone necessarily. I just think you guys would articulate it well, and that's one.
Without conflict, I would. Right,
So this
that's the only reason I did not stand
So
up.
Mr. Davis, this is what I'm going to do because I think the meeting's gonna come back to me now. We now have nominations open for your spokesperson. We'll take a motion as your spokesperson.
I offer a motion that Mr. Davis represents the group.
And we've got a motion that Mr. Davis be the person. We've got a second. Mr. Davis, do you have anything to say?
I don't.
Okay, so with that, let's take a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, so we have, you all have decided that Mr. Davis will do that, and we'll look into having him present by Zoom. So now we are at number 9 on the agenda, and before we do the formal thank yous, we will now offer each of you an opportunity. If you have any comments, let's start with Mr. Davis. We're just gonna go 1, 2, 3. Mr. Davis, any comment?
No comments.
Mr. Edelman?
no comments.
Ms. Johnson? Ms.
I appreciate this opportunity. I'm a taxpayer and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't want them to take no more taxes out of my property taxes. But doing this has made me a believer. Thank you, I appreciate it. For our kids.
Other
For
fellow
our
neighbors.
kids, I will.
All right. I'll echo Ms. Jones. I appreciate the opportunity to serve with you all. I love getting to know you all in this capacity. And I hope I get to do this again.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone. I appreciated the highly structured, kind of committee that we had here, the panel, and also just the difference in perspectives. I think that was also something I highly valued. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you to all of you. And so on behalf of the council, before we unanimously adjourn, cannot thank you enough, because one of the guiding principles of this council is to allow the investors in these programs, i.e. the taxpayers, help us determine who should get the funding. So we are very thankful for that. Again, I will say on the record, tell your friends, tell your partners, tell them to sign up for our newsletters, cscleon.org, and sign up to be an evaluator, because it is a daunting process. You guys did it splendidly, and thank you. And with that, we are adjourned at 1:41.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you need this.